Get rocked. here, you know, you get an insight and you know something, you know, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, you know. But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Memories. Memories.
crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Got lots of love. Love. 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 Got lots of love. Love.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. 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 Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
4v3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. They're gonna deflect. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
The beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Sagafor is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick on the Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Blue manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the 8? They get the 8. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to CGL, where we're going to be crowning a champion here tonight in the South American region for our open tier. It's Factor X taking on Garfo. My name is Dextron. That is 2 Tryhard Ray. Ray, how are you doing here tonight, man?
We're feeling pretty good. I'm very excited. This is the first time I've had a chance to cast the South American region. I know you and Hunter do it all the time, so you guys will be my journeymen to bring me along this, and we're gonna go on a great journey tonight with the South American region.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 teams have been by far some of the most consistent and best teams since me and Hunter really started picking it up a little bit earlier this year. Factor X, this team right here, this is the last time we're going to see this rendition of Factor X, as the majority of this roster has either gone on to different teams or has been picked up by other teams here in the South American region. The majority of them have gone over to Del Patos, while you have I think 3 members of this Factor X team that are playing on In Control and NA Masters tier, and then 2 of them who are playing on Iliad Helios in NA Masters tier. So again, this is a really good team. This Garfo team, though, a complete Brazilian team. I think they're one of the best all-round teams. A lot of flexibility on it. We're able to get in the playoffs in South American Face it last season, and I think they have a consistency here tonight to be able to really put up a fight to Factor X. But if you go back and look at the season here, they've gone up against Factor X 3 times, only been able to take off a map 1 time against them there in the mid-season Grand Finals.
Yes, it's going to be an uphill battle for them to be able to do that, but I think they are up to the task. They got 4th in the last season of South America Face It. I will say Factor X was the one who ended up winning it all, but these 2 teams are extremely familiar with each other, so that's going to be one thing to keep in mind, is these teams, since they know each other so well, the bans, the map picks, all this kind of stuff can be much more targeted in your favor to make things happen.
Yeah, and like I said, these 2 teams have met 3 times already this season, once in the midseason, once again in week 5. That was a 3-0 win for Factor X, and then once again in the winners final here in the playoffs. That was a 3-0 victory for Factor X there. Factor X hasn't dropped a map in regular season play since week 3, and in all play since the grand finals of the midseason. And right now, they're 9 maps up, 9 maps down here in the playoffs, looking to extend that to 13 and have a golden run here.
Yeah, there's one thing to remember for this matchup tonight, folks. It is a first to 4 grand final, but before we dig a little bit deeper into this matchup, we do have other matchups that will be going on during this one. So for any of you guys who are dual monitors, some of you guys got triple monitors, make sure you pull up some of these other games on stream, as we have the NA Masters Losers Finals that will be beginning in 25 minutes, and the NA Open Losers Semifinals happening at the same time, which will be on CGL 3 for the NA Masters, and then funny enough, we now have a CGL 4, so that will be where the NA Open Loser Semifinals will be.
Gets used once or twice every year. And if you're wondering what's on CGL2, it's actually going to be the Portuguese-speaking language broadcast for this grand finals here for South America, as a lot of the CGL2 streams have been South America throughout this entire season. I believe it's going to be William Mundy controlling the story over there in that one here. But now let's focus back in on this series here now. 3 times already these teams have met. Like I've said, I've met a couple other times in Face It and a whole bunch of other tournaments as well. They have a lot of experience, like you said, Ray. But when you look at what map we're going to first, sometimes having a lot of experience helps. Sometimes having no experience helps, because we're heading to Lijiang Tower.
El Clasico, Lijiang Tower. No surprises here. I feel like if we had the data, I feel like we would see that I'd probably say close to 70% of all these matches in playoffs have started on Lijiang Tower. I'd say another 20 is probably Ilios, and then the remaining 10 is any other map that's left, Busan or Oasis. So it's a very popular first map. It's a very well-known rush/brawl map where you can also make dive work on certain maps like the Night Market, like the Gardens, but it is definitely well-known for the brawl.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I expect to see from these teams here pretty early on. Factor X, your number 1 seed's going to be getting that first ban because of winning that upper finals here. So, Ray, I mean, where do you see Factor X going with it here? Do they go safe with the support? Do they go after a tank? And I think really trying to throw a curveball out there early is going after one of these DPS heroes here. Where do you think this Factor X squad's going to head with our first ban?
I think it's a possibility, but at the same time, target banning a tank, especially since these teams know each other so well, can put a lot of power into your hand. You can limit teams, especially, let's say, I'm not saying they're a ball team, but if they were a ball team on this map and you ban ball, it's just, gone. But Doom is going to be the first ban coming in from Factor X, which I'm a little surprised about that. That feels like it might be some sort of protection ban.
Might be a little bit of a protection band here. If I remember correctly, I think Garfo does have a pretty good Doom player on it. Again, I'm trying to remember here, but again, I feel like it's leaning more towards protection. Garfo now, they get their choice of ban here. Do they try to throw that curveball out here with the DPS, or do they make the smart ban here on support? Well, it's going to be Kiri, and hey, I think that's a smart ban here. It's a safe one as well. Just get rid of Kiri first. Map opens up a lot later on.
Agreed. Kiri has just been a mainstay support ever since she's come out. Very powerful ultimate, just amount of damage you can throw down, as well as Suzu just being extremely powerful. So on a map like this, teams are going to have to adapt. You can imagine you're mostly going to be getting Lucios on this map. So what do you go to pair along with that now? Do we go like Moira's for burst heals? Do we go Bat for possible damage, plus like an immortality field? I feel like the floor opens up now that Kiri is not playable for this map.
And right now, we were kind of informed of this a little bit earlier on. Tizzy, normally that's starting tank here for Factor X. Well, they're starting, I believe, support players actually playing in Ka right now. Tizzy going to be filling in on that support role here. So Lava will be starting off tank here tonight for Factor X. Garfo, Dystopia, Domino, really solid DPS line. Legtat, really watch out for them on this tank line. Champion and Diabo, I think it's a very solid backline. I mean, both these teams have very solid lineups, but you have to look at Factor X. Just the fact that only 2 maps dropped throughout this entire season so far, Ray. They're looking to have one of the most dominant seasons in CGL history here right now with a victory here tonight.
Yeah, and let's just say for the sake of arguments, they were to 4-0 here. It might. I can't think of a more dominant season where you only drop 3 maps the entire season. That would be ridiculous. So let's see what these teams can do. Will Garfo be able to adjust from the previous attempts of not being able to take them down, and this time win it all, or will Factor X continue the streak they have been on and Shadow put a curtain to the Factor X name with some pride on the line?
Yeah, again, Garfo has been one of the teams so far to make Factor X bleed. The other one, their sister team in Faka. That was the only other team to take a map off of Factor X throughout this entire season. And right now, if you're Garfo, you've already gone up against this Factor X team once. You have to know what you have to make, what change you had to make coming into this grand finals.
No surprises here to be seeing the Ramatra coming out from Factor X. The Ramatra, ever since they got that 25 HP buff, has been extremely strong in the brawl type situations, as we see Ligtat going over to the Junker Queen. So they're going to have to move a lot faster and find kills quicker because they don't have as much sustain as the Ram comp does.
Domino also playing on this Echo, especially on this map. I feel like you're going to struggle to find a lot of value here unless you're in the main area of the point. Because look, already Domino low ceiling going to be taken out there by Mickman. And now what that one pick, Garfo kind of just has to back up, give up the space, and probably the first point cap as well as Capium too far up. No TP is going to be able to get them out, but they do find Tizzy. However, you lose LATAM in this fight, probably all but over. Lava going to be able to punch Capium there into the railing. And now Factor X gets the first point cap of the night.
Capium, that was not a bad try, as LATAM already having to go over to their matcha has already seen the writing on the wall that you probably need to match this in order to find some good success. I kind of like the support lineup that we're seeing from Factor X, because you still have that speed utility from the Juno, but you're going to have a lot more heals than what the Lucio generally is going to be able to provide.
Yeah, you just don't get that consistent speed, though. That might be the one thing that you're kind of giving up here with the Juno, but you already look at LATAM, very low on health, can be taken out there by the flashbang. Domino going to be able to find Kaori out, but now Mickman, again, this is a very scary person to see get hot here early on. 3 kills already. Domino going to be able to fall back to the safety of spawn to keep themselves alive, and Factor X going to back up here a little bit and play the choke.
So far, so good. Factor X looking like their form that they have shown all season long. High Noon and a Photon Bear available for both of these DPS.
I saw Kaori play on their in-control facing team just yesterday. They really got the sim going about map 2, and they made a difference there for their team. They didn't end up winning it, but Mickman, again, like I said, once this player gets hot, they are very, very difficult to shut down. Photon Barrier coming out there, and that's one thing Kaori, I think, really impressed me with yesterday in their facing game, is how great their replacements are with those Photon Barriers.
Again, they just haven't been under much pressure this entire time, has Factor X. Garfo's trying to find some angle, some way to be able to push in here. It might have to be with an ultimate to try and force these players back in order to buy your team some space.
Dystopia getting low. Capium going to be able to keep them alive here. And honestly, if you're Capium, you might be throwing the Nano out on the LATAM. You're not going to be able to. Now who's going to be the touch? Factor X understands they have the space. They have the ultimates. The orbital ray out. Deadeye out from Mickman on the side. Going to be able to find one, but eventually they will get booped off the map. Diablo should be able to get a touch here to force overtime. But what kind of fight is going to be here for Garfo as they have to 1v1 Tizzy on point? Not going to be able to find much as LCS pops the rally. And I don't think anyone else from Garfo going to be able to get back in time. A strong start here for Factor X.
Yeah, unfortunately, that just was not very close, Dex. I think one issue, they're sitting here with Nano the entire time in their, and, you know, like that is extremely low on the RAM. At that point, I probably would have just thrown the Nano on and went forward and tried to aggress and take some space. Like, what else are you going to use that Nano for at that point?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I said there. I felt like you just need to kind of throw it on LATAM as they were holding in that choke and just let them go in. They were going to be able to build up to their own annihilation. You just need to do something there. However, I still think Domino playing that Echo was a very weird kind of pick there for that first point, because just how close quarters everything is. Now, with if you can force a 0.3, that Echo does decently find a little bit more value here, as you already see Mickman go over to a far after playing excellent cast map or 0.1.
I think the far with the Wrecking Ball is going to be a great adaptation from Garfo, but I mean, the ball with the Echo. The Thera is interesting because you're going to be playing the Skies against an Echo, which the Echo can match up into the Thera pretty well. So you definitely have to be careful. But if I'm X Factor, you just bunker on Factor X, you just bunker on the point.
That's exactly what they're doing here. LATAM's going to be able to at least buy some time here for their team as the point does open right now. And each team kind of just poking out. LATAM doing a good job, at least pulling some attention away from the rest of their team. But Factor X essentially gets this point kept for free here. TP coming out there from KR, going into the small room where Garfo is. Nice boop there. However, they find only Mickman who can fly away. Actually, no, it's Kaori who went flying off the map. And that's someone you need to get rid of early here. If you're Garfo, you lose Domino. But still, even trades out here. A large source of damage now out for Factor X is Dystopia. Going to be able to shut down the Pharah in the sky. And Garfo, this looks like a fight that they could end up winning here. They just need to be able to find the next pick, but you lose Diablo LATAM. LATAM?
Off the edge, I don't know what's going on in my South America Grand Finals, but all I know is Factor X is taking full advantage. Kaori on the Tracer able to clean up too, as they are looking to push the issue. The fact that they are on the Moira Lucio now, though, is they don't have nearly as much sustain as they did on the Brig Juno, so they do have to push the pace a little bit to be able to win these fights faster.
I feel that, LATAM. I feel that. Yeah, but they need to be able to push a little bit faster here now. They need to be able to do something. LATAM has been, I think, finding a decent amount of value on the Wrecking Ball, even though they did and roll off the map and then just get booped off the map there by Mickman, but you need a little bit more here from the rest of Garfo. Capium does have that now ready to go here. They have to be able to throw it on the someone this time around. Mickman falling early. Again, big source of splash damage out there, especially as Kaori has gone over to this Tracer. No more Sim here, no more TP, so you could play a little bit more aggressively now.
Yeah, and with 2 now up in this fight, you're not going to have to commit as much as you should. You should be able to win this fight with very little ult investment. All that cost you was going to be those mines. So for Garfo, they're finally able to get that point cap. Unfortunately for them, they're going to have to be perfect the rest of the way because 1 team wipe and a point cap and Factor X should be winning this map. They're going to be able to re-engage with the Coalescence, a lot on the line. Actually, all 5 of their ultimates pretty much. So Garfo has to be prepped, has to be ready. I think this bolo shot could actually go a long way from Dystopia.
Yeah, especially if it lands on someone like LCS. I mean, there's no Suzu to really keep them alive. That would take them out or put them in a spot where it's easy dive there. The duplicate coming out here from Domino onto Mickman. They're on that far, looking to at least get the trade in the sky. Not going to be able to find much here. Trying to build up to their own barrage. Do have it ready to go. They just need to get in position, try to find some value with it here because that could be huge. And it is 2 coming out there from Domino. They'll get out of the duplication right there, but you found all the value you were looking for there and more. Tizzy now investing in this fight as Factor X thinks it's still winnable. Bullet shot could be invested there. Gonna find Tizzy, but Tizzy just gonna be able to fade away from it now. Focusing in on Diablo. Diablo, though, popping the beat. Nano still holding on here by Capium. The only ultimate that Garfo has yet to throw up, but Ligtat, throughout the entirety of this fight, almost built up to another Mines. Barrage, though, from Mickman does find 1. No supports here on the side of Garfo as they keep finding trades. Kaori trying to do what they can, but getting focused down a little bit here. Ligtat Mines ready to go, but with such low health, they might just be falling back to get one last regroup here.
Yeah, it's going to be a staggered touch from the side of Garfo, but they have the players to be able to do that. As it's going to be the wrecking ball of Ligtat trying to go in, but they get stopped by the Ravenous Vortex and go down.
That's a rough way to get stopped. You get put to sleep. The Ravenous Vortex stops you dead in your track, and you're not even going to be able to make it back to the point in time. Factor X, not as dominant as a point win here the second time around, but hey, it doesn't matter. The scoreboard will still say 1-0 in their favor.
Great opening map from the side of Factor X. Again, Mickman on this Cassidy, as you mentioned, they get hot, they got rolling. Like, even, you know, on points on Lijiang Tower, there were points where it felt like the Pharah wasn't, you know, doing a lot. It was doing its job, but it wasn't like showing up at the kill feed like they were on the cast. Then they get going with that ult, and they found a lot of kills there at the end. So it's kind of like what you talked about. If they get some momentum, some kills in their favor, they can take that and snowball that very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of what we expect to see from Factor X here, even with the slight kind of difference here with Lava being a tank and, wow, I'm forgetting the name right now, Tizzy being on flex support. It's still kind of just playing in the same way here. You're seeing that this team's very flexible, and that's one thing that we know about both these two teams. Very flexible throughout the entire rosters for both of them here. Garfo, they looked a lot better that second point, weren't able to kind of seal the deal there, especially with the duplication, finding 2 with the barrage. You really think that wins a fight there? I thought Tizzy investing the Coalescence might have been something that was going to really hurt Factor X, but it ended up, I think, helping them because it forced out a lot more ultimates there from Garfo that allowed Factor X to kind of just wait them out and then go back in with ultimates of their own and clean up the fight.
Yeah, so then when they came back and re-engaged with some of their players, they had the ult advantage because they were able to force out so many more, and that Rocket Barrage came in, that Pulse Bomb came in, and then the players were still alive to be able to clean that up. So great job from Factor X realizing the situation they're in and really making that happen for Garfo. That second sub-map, much closer. They really got things going on the Wrecking Ball comp, but the question is, can you really hang your head on that for the rest of the maps going forward? Obviously, in the bans, you know, if you're Factor X, you can look to ban that going forward. You can, we'll see, because Garfo's also going to be in map control now because that first map was Factor X's pick. So let's see where it goes from here. I have faith that Garfo can turn it around and fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have first bans as well, so you could easily just start picking off at things that Factor X was doing really well there. You could ban out the Cass, you could ban out the Brig, you could ban out the Juno, which is something that we kind of mentioned. That was the main difference there with that backlines for those teams since Lucio, or since Kiri is not available. You didn't play a Lucio there, but you talked about the fact that Juno can do a little bit more healing, a little bit more damage, still have that speed ring. That's the only thing you're kind of losing with the Juno, and I think it really helped out Factor X there in that first map. So you have a lot of bannable targets right now for Garfo. But normally that means, especially with flexible teams, if you ban something out, someone's just going to be able to fill in with another hero there about the same kind of level that the hero you just banned out.
Yeah, and even Tizzy on the new role looked pretty good. I mean, the Juno and then the Moira at some points. I mean, it felt like they, didn't take a huge step back despite, not being on their main role. And at any point, Ka could finish and they could have their tank back, have their support back so Tizzy can go back to tank. And then you're facing a whole different issue if you're the side of Garfo. So being able to take advantage while you can is going to be key, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with you about it before this series started. I think Tizzy might be one of the best tanks in the South American region, in no matter what league it is, what level of play it is. I think they might be one of the best. Seeing them on support's a little bit weird, but Lava did a really good job there, just controlling a lot of space throughout that entire first map. And, I mean, I think Ka is technically on their last series of the day, so whenever that one wraps up, I mean, you could see Cameron come back and Tizzy go right back over to that role, or just leave Lava in there. Seems like they're doing a really good job here, but still waiting on the map pick here from Garfo, and we're at this point now in the playoffs here. Grand Finals, every pick you make means a little bit more when it could be, necessarily the last time you're making some of these picks.
I agree, and knowing this is the end of the road here, it's almost like you're now in a situation where it's like, there's no looking back, like, there's no second chances. You pull out every stop. I mean, you got to pull out the cheesy Doomfist at some point. You do it. You grade all the cheese you need to in this series to try and get yourselves a win. You don't hold any strategy back.
Yeah, remember, Doomfist was banned out map 1, but I think you might have called it right there with it being a little bit of a protection ban coming out there from Factor X. I think you would have probably seen the Ramatra ban be what was going to actually be the thing if they left that tank pool open for Garfo, because we saw Lava really play that Ramatra throughout the entirety of that first map, and it looked really, really good, almost unstoppable at sometimes.
Agreed. I for sure think that would have been the pick, and I think especially given they know that Tizzy's not on tank right now, I don't know how deep of a hero pool Lava has on the tank. I'd assume it's, pretty decent, like most tanks. You don't play them all, but you can play, a relatively good amount. And the question is just how many of those tanks are very good in a Lijiang Tower situation. Who knows? Obviously there's still other brawl tanks like the Orisa, like the Zarya and stuff like that are still very viable, like a Mauga. But that's going to be the big question going forward is, what map does Garfo take us to? Do they take us to a map where ball is going to be really good because we saw them play the ball, and because of that, subsequently the rush is going to be good? As we do have that map pick coming in, and it is going to be Suravasa, which, I mean, that is a very well-known ball map for teams that we've seen loading to this map.
I always have something with teams where they go from control to a flashpoint map, and because sometimes I just think it's necessarily not the smartest thing to do. I think you always want to hold that for maybe your next map pick here, because you expect to win a couple maps here and there. I don't like it, but I mean, we see it a lot, and right now Garfo, they're thinking it's gonna be the difference maker here for them. They get this first ban here, they could again go to that tank line, make a ban there. I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we see a casket banned out. But at the same time, we also just saw Mickman be able to pick up other heroes as well. Actually, no. Say goodbye to the Russian. No Zarya this map.
That is interesting, given the fact that I think the Ram is still going to be fine on here. Yeah, we've seen the ball get played a lot on this, but the Ram is still fine. And then Mickman was cooking on that cast, and it can actually be a disruptive force against that Wrecking Ball. So I'm actually very surprised they didn't go to look in that direction for their ban.
Factor X now. Wide open pool for them. Could go after support. Could we see our first DPS ban of the night? Okay, Venture. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. We didn't really see a lot of Venture at all, map number 1, but this is definitely a map where you do see a decent amount of Venture be played from time to time in space, or in place of maybe a Tracer, maybe some other flex DPS like a Genji or a Reaper as well. But without the Zarya, Reaper kind of loses any value that you would really expect to see again.
Which, given the situation we're in, the only reason I'd ever think to play Venture is to disrupt like a sim comp, as we do have substitutes coming in. Ligtat now going back over to the DPS as a
Gusto Gabo.
Gusagabo, thank you. Gusagabo is coming in.
My bad. Gusagobo.
Gusagabo coming in on that tank, which, Lictat will now be able to go back to their original role of DPS. So I'm excited to see how these changes will affect the Garfo squad now that they got everyone back on their original roles.
Yeah, I mean, Lictat being tank last map was something kind of throwing me for a little bit of a loop there. I thought they did an okay job, but bringing in Gusagobo now, as I think it's going to work out a little bit better, is listed as their starting tank. And I think going back and, just trying to remember when I did watch them in the previous seasons of Face It, they were really serviceable for this roster and able to really carry them through a lot of engagements. And look, you see their main hero is Doomfist. You have to remember what Factor X said ban out. Map number 1, Doomfist. So that might have been the reason why we saw Lictat actually play that tank map 1, because Gusagobo might be a Doom one trick, or just someone who really is really proficient on Doomfist.
That is a great point, Dex. So we're going to have to see how that changes things. All right, folks. Grand finals are once again map number 2. Factor X up 1-0. What can Garfo do here now with their original players back in, their Doomfist available if they do so choose to play it? Which to me, that's the other interesting little tidbit of this is, let's say you do, look to play Doom here, which we do see Garfo currently lining up in that. Why are you banning Zarya? Like, I don't necessarily think, how do I want to counter my Doom teams? And that's go Zar. I normally think if I want to counter Doom, I go Orisa. Or, maybe like a Diva possibly, just to have that mobility to avoid the Doom as much as possible. So the Zar ban's a little perplexing given, you can't even say it's a protection ban because Doom's already been banned.
Yeah, and this is definitely something where Garfo made the ban here because they didn't really want to go up against it, and probably expecting that Factor X is doing what they're doing here, not coming out on the Ramatra that we saw in the majority of last map, want to play a little bit of dive instead here. And look at what Factor X is showing us, a very, I would say, almost unorthodox kind of comp. 2 flex DPS players with the Tracer and the Sim, but Sim gonna be able to, the Sombra gonna be able to find so much value as Gusagobo just dives in, gets hacked, and gets taken out there by that DPS line. Lictat gonna be able to find 1, but LCS gonna be able to immediately trade that back out, and Factor X, minus the 1 kill there on Kaori, gonna be able to pick up right where they left off.
Yeah, I think they figured, that the Doomfist was coming, so having that Sombra be able to come in and hack and disrupt everything that Gusagobo is trying to play and trying to do, I think it was a smart DPS hero choice from the side of Factor X.
And you already see it before Garfo could even get back in. Gusagobo taken very, very low, has to just get out of dodge here, and you really cannot afford to do that multiple times. You need to have your Doom just charge all the way up on healing so they can play this aggressive play style. Allow Lictat to get in there as well. Dystopia on this Soj has to be able to take these off angles and just buy some time. The Virus out onto Gobo here is just trying to do anything they can to find their team a little bit of an opening here, but it might come at the cost of their life. SKR gonna be able to find 1. LCS finds Dystopia, and I talked about this with you before the game, Ray, that LCS on this Lucio might be one of the scariest Lucios that you might just see in all of CGL. They know how to play the hero almost perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, LCS has been having a fantastic series so far. So good, but Kaori going to get punished for the aggressive play, but it's not going to matter as the rest of the team is there to clean up and find those picks. As with 93% and counting, I feel like this first point is now going to be flipped in favor of Factor X. That it is. The Tidal Wave Blast comes out, not able to really find anything. And are they able to get the kill? Yes, they are. LCS gets punished, but they found Lictat.
And look, but at the same time, you lose Tizzy, but then you also lose Diabo. I mean, Garfo is having some stuff go their way with Factor X maybe playing a little bit too aggressive there, but now with the even trades going out, it's just kind of a back to square one for both teams here.
Both teams will be coming up on quite a conglomerate of ultimates for this next fight. McMahon with that pulse bomb. I want to see how this goes. Dystopia has swapped over to a Tracer of their own as well, so no more Sojourn on the side of Garfo.
Dual flex DPS line, something I did not expect to see here tonight. Is Gusagobo going to be able to find McMahon out here? No pulse bomb, at least in this engagement. Lava going to get DMA'd here. Does have the bomb, decides not to use it. It's almost like they're giving up this point here. LCS, though, invests the beat into this fight, looking for a little bit more here now as Garfo trying to get the cap, but the EMP coming out there from KR, gonna land onto 3. The virus gonna be able to shut down the Doomfist as Factor X tries to get their way back into this fight. LCS gonna be able to find Dystopia out here as KR is still looking for more targets. Blade coming out here from LaTAM, trying desperately to find anything, swinging away, but not gonna be able to find anything with the Blade. Factor X almost giving up the first cap here to Garfo, gonna be able to get the first cap themselves instead.
What patience that Factor X was able to play with and be able to re-engage with those ultimates and to completely avoid that LaTAM Blade was impressive from the entirety of their team. So much mobility. They got absolutely nothing out of it. And then that Pulse Bomb finds even more as more aggression is coming out from Factor X.
Again, this is a team that knows their limits with a lot of these compositions. They can play aggressive, knowing that Garfo is going to have to probably invest a lot of their utility just to try to find one person out. Mickman going to be able to barely escape. No chase from Garfo there. They had an opportunity to maybe find one pick, but they're just going to play it slow here. Copium going to be able to find, or Capium going to be able to find Mickman out there, as this could be an opening here for Garfo. They might honestly need to invest something here just to get this fight going. You have the Kitsune Rush online, still a bomb ready for the other side. There you go. There's a second pick. Tidal Blast, though, onto Lava. Not going to be able to find anyone as the DPS line here for Garfo. Starting to pick up the slack in Lava. Again, not going to choose to use the bomb this time around, holding it for yet another engagement.
Again, it's going to be smart given the fact that they're able to stall this all the way to 99%. So all they have to do is flip this point one more time. The issue is they're going to be facing double support ultimates coming in from Garfo. They've been playing patiently, and a lot of their ultimates are about to be paying off soon. As Factor X, I mean, you know, you're probably playing for EMP and hoping to win it when you have EMP sound barrier.
LaTAM been able to build up to another Blade here pretty quickly as well, and Gusagobo not that far away from a Meteor Strike, but I feel like they used the same fight that LaTAM used the Blade here, so these teams been able to build up ultimates pretty quickly here. Factor X, though, trying to buy some space here. Capium going to start off the fight here with their Kitsune Rush, forcing Factor X here just to play a little bit slow. Gusagobo going to fall back, get some healing, get healed up here. LaTAM hacked out KR, trying to build up to that EMP here, because that could be a difference maker if they're able to get at this fight. But I like what we're seeing there from Tizzy, just kind of throwing in orbs. The punch from Gusagobo. I feel like the railing saved them there. Beat coming out from Diabo, not going to be able to save Dystopia there. Blade from LaTAM, they're just slicing at air right now. Finally going to be able to get the bomb out and get around the corner. Beat now out from Factor X as well, as both teams still fighting for everything here. Garfo has a chance to win the fight here, win the point. The Meteor Strike coming out there from Guskop, going to be able to find Kaori there. No EMP. That was a huge kind of factor we were talking about here, but Factor X gets the point, flipped it. Wait, did the pulse just get canceled by punch?
I don't think I've ever seen that interaction before. I think it might have. Wow, what?
I didn't know that was a possibility.
Yeah, I didn't know it was either. Wow. I feel like you cast
Factor X won the
so
point.
long, Dex. I feel like you've seen everything. That I have not seen before.
I mean, Factor X won the point, but I've never seen that.
I kid you not, Dex. Like, after this is over, I might grab the code for it and go check that out. Because I'm very, very curious. Is Factor X now going to be able to wipe out the side of Garfo, head back over to the temple point, and now they got control of the point, and they're looking at EMP and a tidal wave blast. They are definitely in the driver's seat, hoping to make this a clean 3-0 on Servasa.
Dystopia pulse bomb of their own here as well could be used to really open up a lot. EMP, they're going to be able to find 3. Gutsugabo not going to be even able to get that Suzu from Capium to keep them alive, and this already looks like the fight is dead and gone. 3-4, the only one left alive is Dystopia, and Lava will knock their lights out, send them back to spawn. Factor X off to a strong start here on the third point.
Pulse bomb for Dystopia. LaTAM should be able to get to this Blade. But again, you have the tidal wave blast that can protect someone and possibly, you know, knock you on the ground. It is tough sledding. This Doomfist has just not been able to find much of an angle in and be able to find picks like they've been hoping.
But the blast comes out on the lava. However, Mickman, LCS taken out there. Garfo does have an opening here. They seem to drag this fight towards point. You lose Tizzy. No supports now for Factor X. Dystopia hit with the virus here, so they have to kind of play patiently, or else they would be taken out very early on. Kaori down. The only one left alive is Lava. And if you're Garfo here, you don't stagger this one out. You just kill him as fast as you can. Point in your control. 79% though to Factor X.
Dystopia coming through big in that fight, getting the huge pulse bomb to wipe things up pretty quickly as Factor X, who got it all the way to 79%, looking to try and win one more fight to make this map over. Pulse bomb in the back pocket for Mickman, but Garfo has a lot to be able to use.
This is a really good spot here for Garfo now. You're kind of rotate into a really good spot with the ultimates. Suzu coming out there pretty early on. Now that you see the Kitsune Rush out from Capium here as they're just trying to really help their team find something here early on. But Factor X playing it slow. Nice hack there by Kaori. Going to be able to slow down Gusagabo there. But Leg Tat, this is someone you really need to come alive here right now for this Garfo team. But Gusagabo going to barely be able to escape. They're using the Meteor Strike. Going to be able to find Tizzy. LCS taken out as well. And now Factor X just has to back up here as you see Lava going to, pet the Gators.
You might have one more touch opportunity if you're the side of Factor X, but the question is going to look to hold their time and play for the next point. It kind of looks like they are, as they're going to have quite a plethora of ultimates to be able to use in the next fight, but it did look like they did touch. They're going to use Sound Barrier and commit to this.
Mickman again using a pulse, not going to be able to find anything. Diablo going to be able to find them out before that beat there from LCS finds them. The blade from Leg Tat finding value this time around. Tizzy's going to be able to find Capium, but nice play there by Leg Tat. Understand that if they get rid of Lava, there's a very, very small chance that Factor X comes back in this point fight. Kaori could have EMP, but it'll be a little bit of a waste at this point as Tizzy does fall. And it looks like Garfo going to be able to extend this map here. And I mean, Ray, they've looked really good these last 2 points. They just gave up. They just gave up the point flip there on that second point to really let Factor X win it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that re-engage from Factor X. I feel like you should have just played for the next point because you could have had so many ultimates coming into it. And now with Kaori going down, they're starting to really find the stride, find their positioning. Our Garfo as they're looking to reverse sweep this map.
I mean, they do definitely have it, I think, in them to do it. They looked really good on the second point. Like I said, just ended up losing there very late. And that third point, after they got control of it, was really hard to dislodge them from the point here. Kaori looking for a good EMP opportunity, finds the hack there. EMP comes out only onto Gusagabo. The beat from Diabo comes out, but not going to be able to land them. Dystopia going to be able to trade it out. But right now, if you're Garfo, you would really love to have your tank back. Nice pulse bomb there. Going to force Lava to get out of the mech there. No bomb to get them back in. And Garfo, even losing Gusagabo here pretty early on, going to be able to get the first point cap here. Looking to clean up the fight now a little bit more. Kaori gets low. Tizzy actually investing in this one. Kitsune Rush out here from Factor X as they don't want to give up this point here or allow Garfo to get much more of a lead, but Gusagabo back in, and Lava actually was able to get back in the mech as well. Going to be able to get rid of Diabo. No beat for them there as they already use it. Calpium here. Do they use their Kitsune Rush? Gusagabo going to be able to use the Meteor Strike. They're going to be able to find Kaori after the fact. Tizzy, I think this is Factor X looking for a reset here. Lava at least going to get one. Are they going to reset or are they going to try to get back to their team?
The question will be answered here shortly. I just am not understanding this old commitment from Factor X in a lot of these sites. Let's see if they can make something happen now.
Blade out from Lake Tat, very low on health, gets hacked, gets virus, and gets bullied by 4 members of Factor X right there, but Garfo still holding on to the point right now. Capium still holding on to the Kitsune Rush. Lava does have bomb ready to go, so good remaking tool, especially if you throw it on point. Pulse bomb? Yeah, a pulse bomb there from Mickman. Not going to be able to find much, but hey, Factor X does have control of the point as Garfo just kind of was drawn away from it.
You do have to be perfect the rest of the way as Capium now going to throw that Kitsune Rush on point.
Comes out now. Nice punch there by Gusagabo to force Kaori back. Lava, though, still does have this great remaking tool with the bomb. Lake Tat has to get healed up. Suzu going to be invested into them. Lava almost getting demeched here. Going to be able to actually... They lose the mech there, but Gusagabo going to be taken out by the virus. However, Factor X still holding on to the point. Lava going to be able to get back into the mech. And I think at this point right now, if you're Garfo, you're just looking for a soft reset here. And that's exactly what it looks like they're trying to do. But Factor X trying to deny that.
Hack trying to get on top of the Gusagabo, and they are able to get the hack ultimately with that virus as well. EMP so close. Feels like that's the win condition you're playing for if you're Factor X.
And Kaori built up this EMP very, very quickly. I feel like they only used it maybe 2 fights ago here now. Tizzy does have Kitsune Rush ready to go, and they're going to use it here early on. They want to win this fight here and now. Beat coming out from Diablo, going to be able to find them as Kaori, though, the EMP, something they thought was going to be vital in this fight, gets gone early on. LCS does have Beat getting invested here. Not going to be able to save the mech, though, but it does keep Lava alive a little bit longer. Maybe to get a remech as you see Garfo try to focus on them. Gusagabo going to be able to find them here. Garfo looks like they're going to be able to get the point flip here, but Factor X coming back in with an EMP of their own could be able to flip it.
McMahon's going to go and touch this point and use the recall, but doesn't feel like anyone is there to be able to touch. Subsequently, they do get the touch time. EMP's out.
Yuzu, a huge there, keeping Lake Tat alive. Dystopia and Diablo going to be able to find 2 here, and if you're Factor X, unless there's a miracle, you're not winning this point here and now, and Garfo has forced at least the potential for a reverse sweep here on Surabasa. And now if you're Factor X, they really haven't looked like themselves these past 2 points, really these past 3 points, but now it's a winner-take-all, 0.5.
I've just not understood a lot of their ult use. They're down in fights and they're using ults to try and flip them. That's just not, it just hasn't been winning positions for these ultimates to be able to use. And now Garfo is going to be able to come in with a Kitsune Rush with a Blade, and they should be able to take control of this point with relative ease.
Blade coming out here from Lake Tat, trying to find what they can. Also, the Kitsune Rush out here from Capium, not going to be able to do much, but it does help Lake Tat find Kaori, and that's going to basically just give Garfo, I think, the first point cap here as Mickman trying to get out with their lives here. Point now open, and I mean, just from the small little moment we saw Gusagabo there fighting, you can tell this is a very experienced Doomfist player. They know all the tech. They know how to get him up to quick momentum as fast as they possibly can.
Lava trying to find some sort of opening to be able to push on top of some of these supports, but the kills are just coming in for Garfo. That's 2.
And Gusagabo was incredibly low right there. No one chased after them, so they're going to be able to stay in the fight. And now that allows Garfo to keep playing aggressively. The tables have turned here as Garfo now being the aggressors towards Factor X's spawn.
They just don't have a lot to push with at this point. Do Factor X, they have support ultimates coming online soon, but all the ultimates are starting to mount. There we go, Capium, that's what they're looking for.
Capium finds one there. Dystopia throws out a pulse bomb, not gonna be able to find much there. Pulse bombs have been really much hit or miss throughout this entire map, but Factor X gets the point flip there, 74% going over to Garfo, and now you're just seeing some staggering kills come out here. And honestly, if you're Gusagabo, you just need to get out of dodge here, but now Factor X, again, trying to play aggressively as we've seen them do so much throughout the series.
Dystopia going to go over to the Sojourn to be able to match and have that hit scan potential as well, as Kaori did get off the Sombra and is now on that Cassidy, so it makes the job of Gusagabo that much harder with that threat of the flashbang grenade.
Diabo finding Mickman out here. I mean, we talked about LCS playing a really good Lucio throughout this entire night so far, but now you see Diabo coming in, coming out there from both sides. Looks like it's going to be actually Factor X finds a lot of value. Deadeye actually coming out, gets punched out, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Does its jobs, buys the time. Factor X ticks over into the lead here. Garfo, though, going to come back with 2 ultimates.
That's going to be the key here. Can the Blade, can the Kitsune Rush be enough? You're going to have a remech and a Pulse Bomb coming online for Factor X. They found Tizzy.
Who's the touch? Who's the touch? Lake Tat finds one. There's the touch out there. Garfo does have the chance to get the point flip essentially for free as Factor X could just back up. Lava got DMAC, didn't use the bomb, but they have some time here. 80% accounting now for Garfo. There's one more engagement.
Yeah, regardless, Mickman should be able to get a touch as they're setting up to be able to do that Pulse Bomb in their back pocket. Can they make a play? Can they keep the hopes alive? Can they go up 2-0?
Diabo was looking for the boop right there, just guessed on the wrong door. Lava bomb ready. Do they use it as a remaking tool or do they use it aggressively? Kitsune Rush out here from Capium pretty early on. One pick could be the difference maker here now. Gusagabo, Lake Tat, Dystopia are very low on health. Garfo's the healers. They need to focus in on them right now. Gusagabo going to be able to get a little bit here as you do see Lake Tat go charging in to get the deep flank kill. Huge. And the bomb now out from Lava, but it looks like the majority of Garfo are going to be able to just escape it. 3 members of Factor X down, make it 4, and Garfo takes the 3rd map off Factor X this season. We have ourselves a series.
There we go, in reverse sweep fashion. These are the adjustments I need to see out of Garfo. They made them. They made it happen. The Doomfist composition, it would look shaky at first, but once they found their footing and got the momentum going, they did not look back. And those last 3 points just were pretty dominant in the favor of Garfo.
You have to remember, going back to map 1, it was Factor X that banned out the Doomfist. They knew Gusagabo could really find a lot of value on it. They did that throughout the map there. Now that Doomfist is there the rest of the series. However, Factor X does have next map pick, so they can bring us to a map where Doomfist doesn't necessarily find a lot of value, but I feel like at this point in the game's lifestyle, if you're really good at a hero, you're going to try to find value even in places where you really can.
Alrighty, folks, we have ourselves a series third map all season. Factor X has dropped. We're going to go to a quick break and allow these teams to recuperate and figure out what the next steps are, what the next maps are, what the next bans are. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. We now have a series on our hands here in the South American Grand Finals. Garfo able to take the third map off of Factor X this entire season here. And really, it's the second time they've been able to do that. You go back to the mid-season Grand Finals. Garfo was able to take one, but it was a 3-1 victory for Factor X here. Trying to make sure it's not the same case this time around. Ray, we do know where we're going to be heading for map number 3 here. Factor X has decided to bring us to Circuit Royale here, and me and you were talking about it a little bit. This map's starting to get a little bit more play now, and I really think it's because hit scan heroes are starting to get really, really strong. Poke heroes and the poke tanks that you normally see like Ramatra is still strong here at the moment. Would not be surprised if we see that get banned out here.
I 100% agree with you here, and it's also probably a very, very, very bad Doomfist map. So I completely understand them taking us to this map. Now let's see what the bans are going to go. As we mentioned, since X Factor got the map pick, they will get the first ban as well. So they can go a bunch of different directions. Obviously they can't go to Doom anymore. But you could possibly, you know, ban something that helps enable the Doom. Maybe you don't want to deal with the Genji possibly, and Freya is going to be the one banned.
like I said, hit scans are really strong right now. Freya, not as busted as she was when she first came out, but I think she's kind of in that sweet spot where she's not too strong, not too weak. A lot of burst damage really allows poke comps, I think, to find a lot of value. Just being able to still kind of play a little bit aggressively into it here, I think it's a really smart ban to make sure you don't have to deal with the the explosive crossbow that she has here. Garfo, though, they get a ban here. And, I mean, they left tank open. I said Ramatra could be a case here, but do they go back over to the support line this time around?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, you're the one who picked this map as Ramatra is going to be that ban, so no surprises here. It's interesting that you took us to a circuit map where hit scan is very strong, but you go to ban Freya. I guess it's possible your hit scans just don't have that Freya capability, that they're more like Ashe, Widow, Sojourn kind of players, and you know that Garfo has, you know, I mean, we've seen Garfo play that Freya even back on Lijiang Tower, so I guess that's probably the idea behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something where Factor X is making sure they ban something out that Garfo has played, but you have to remember Mickman back on Lijiang Tower as well, playing an excellent Cassidy. You have to imagine that can translate over to Ashe, to Widow, but I feel like Cassidy might just be the way to go here for them. It's at the start, maybe an Ashe, but Garfo, I think this is a great ban. Ramatra, it's going to force Lava into playing potentially something else here. Doesn't seem like we're getting any subs coming into this map here as Ducky. It's coming right at us. Great, it's a horror movie. We aren't running.
No, man, it's the duck's trying to get us. It's a possessed duck. It's a horror movie.
It's like you get $1 million, but you have a snail chasing you around for the rest of your life, and if it touches you, you die.
I've seen that bargain. Oh man,
that duck living its best life, though.
It really is. I mean, it's just like a nice duck that gets to float around at a super sweet, like 5-star looking hotel. So awesome for them. As we do see on this attack and defense, both teams full on poke with the Sigmas, but Factor X's defense is interesting. No hit scans, but they do have a Pharah May, but this Pharah's gonna have to be very careful because Dystopia is on this Ashe.
And it's kind of what we expect to see without the without Freya there. Ashe was going to probably be something, like I said, mentioned. I thought Mickman would be playing the hit scan, but Kaori technically going to be playing the hit scan here on the May with that secondary fire. Ice Wall is going to become very important to this composition for Factor X as well here, as you already see Mickman trying to find a lot of burst damage here early on, but it's going to be Gusugabo showing that they can play a little bit more than the Doomfist here, going to be able to find one, make it two here. And Ray, I think Garfo has found something on this Factor X team that I don't think that Factor X was ready for.
Yeah, I mean, Gusugabo, ever since coming in on the tank, has been performing extremely well. We do have to keep in mind that Factor X is also does not have, you know, Tizzy, who would normally play tank for them, because they're down their support, who is playing in Calling All Heroes.
LATAM trying to go after Mickman there. Maybe one more shot would have been able to find them, but if they stuck around for maybe one more second, they would have been found out themselves. LCS, with the help from the Ice Wall there, going to be able to find LATAM, but Capion comes right back in and shuts down Mickman, who, I mean, had the barrage online. That could have been something that really opened up and potentially ended a fight here pretty early on, but you do see the rest of Factor X get back down there, and Mickman actually giving up the rest of all that ult charge, going over to the Ashe instead. Nice Ice Wall there by Kaori, shutting down what would have been a Bionade there from Capium here, as you're starting to see Factor X slowly force Garfo back. Gusugabo, though, trying to buy some space here, now being harassed a little bit by the entirety of the team. Orbital Ray out here, rally out as well. Factor X, they do not want to give up this point that early. Nice charge there by LCS, but Diablo going to be able to find one with the Tidal Blast. LATAM now cleaning up, going to be able to drill through two members of Factor X. And Garfo picking up right where they left off from Surabasa.
The Garfo's look a really good. Dystopia on the Ashes. Mickman has also swapped over to an Ashe of their own. I mean, Ashe is just in a great spot right now. Getting that fall off range change has just made her so busted right now. So it's no surprise that we're seeing that out of both teams, especially with Fran on the board. But if you're Garfo, trying to get a bunch of distance on the second point quickly is going to be the utmost importance because of the natural high ground these defenders get. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if LATAM's going to get aggressive with this Tectonic Shock.
Here, though, does have a Blizzard here that can really slow down a lot for Garfo here, and this is always, I call, one of the hardest second point pushes for any of the maps, or any of the escort maps in the game. LaTAM, though, pops the Tectonic Shocks, looking for anything, gonna only be able to maybe find one hit with it. Immortality Field already invested here by Tizzy. Bob out here, though, from the Dystopia, as Mickman gonna be able to find the trade there. LCS getting the trades here right now, but you see Garfo still casually pushing up the card here. Lava has to wait for a moment, but Factor X, if they can play a little bit aggressively here, clean up the rest of Garfo, you're in a perfect spot here to hold on second point. All you have to do is really find Gusagobo, who's kind of out in no man's land. Lava going to be able to find them here. Garfo now has a hard reset.
As we did see in the middle of all that, Tizzy getting off the Juno and going over to the BAP. And it's been a successful swap so far. The Immortality Field, especially with the Sigma composition, being able to have that to keep people alive is very important. As we see now, Factor X has seemed to found their footing. This high ground that they're just going to naturally have like this is already showing why it's so strong and why it's so important to be able to try and take it away and get that card up there as quickly as possible.
Kaori still has Blizzard here, so you could see Garfo try to play very fast through the Blizzard, though stops them all dead in their tracks, either as zoning or actually being able to find a lot of value with it with picks. But I like what we're seeing here from Factor X playing up a little bit. Already the Amp Matrix out. There's the Blizzard, going to be able to freeze Gusagobo, but you immediately see the Tidal Blast thrown onto them. However, it's not going to be enough there as, well, you see the Amp Matrix just melts them down. LCS going to be able to take them out again, and Garfo, again, in a very awkward spot where they kind of have to back up without their tank, but they're still trying to keep this fight going.
That they are, as we see Mickman trying to go for a pick on a Dystopia, but gets shot in the head themselves. Back to the spawn room you go, and that just buys so much. You know, you don't have to worry about your head for a little bit if you're the side. Is now Bob's gonna get thrown in.
Bob actually in a great spot in the middle of the road. Factor X kind of has to play around corners, going to allow Garfo to come back in with a lot of space. Bob going to be able to get rid of the Immortality Field. The sleep throw gets hit on the LCS, who pops a rally, but the tech, or actually just the drill there from LaTAM, going to clean them up, and Garfo, after being stalled there for one moment, going to be able to win the next team fight, get them that second point. Over 3 minutes now for them to complete the map.
It was an expensive fight to be able to get that second point all the way across, but you will take it, as that was just a big step forward for this map of Circuit Royale. And you're still going to be able to have this Tectonic Shock to be able to try and find some picks pretty early on, and you've gotten Dystopia's returning pick, so Garfo might look to back up here.
LaTAM, I mean, we saw Lava walk right past him. I was afraid they were going to go for the drill dash off the map right there, but now they're just going to use it to get out of dodge, keep themselves alive here. However, through all this fight here, Garfo's still casually pushing the cart. Factor X, though, okay, giving up this space here, but now you start to see him get a little bit aggressive. The Flux coming out there. Lava going to just hide behind the wall right there to make sure they don't get knocked off it. LaTAM going to be able to find one, but immediately get traded out here as Factor X trying to just get some momentum back in this map here. Diablo going to be able to find Kaori as Factor X just trying to back up as fast as they can. The damage is being invested here by Tizzy. Will slow down Garfo for a brief moment, but it'll only be that, a moment.
And Dystopia gets the better end of Mickman once again, as Garfo's still going to have that Tidal Wave Blast in their back pocket as well. Kaori, however, very, very close to this Blizzard. I feel like that's the one tool they need to be able to slow things down, hopefully find some kills and regain their footing once again.
Going to need to be the tool they need. It's really the only ultimate they have up here ready to go. Mickman falls early on. Diablo, another Tidal Blast thrown onto, I believe, Gusagobo again, but the Blizzard coming out, going to be able to freeze one that now infested on them as well. The tank just getting everything pumped into them here, and they're still alive. LaTAM finds two. It's all starting to fall apart now for Factor X. Garfo is on the warpath. Kaori can stall out here a little bit longer, but you're starting to see the swaps come out here for Factor X. Lava now going over to a Doomfist just to try to stall out a little bit more. Kaori gets just killed immediately. No ultimates here for Factor X. Dystopia has the Bob. Gusagobo has the Flux if needed, but my feeling is it won't really be needed. This should be a quick cleanup. Bob out. There's the Flux. Mickman comes out of the ground, only to go a little bit higher there. Garfo. They look like a completely different team than what we saw in Lijiang Tower.
They have definitely come alive. With it wasn't even just the Doomfist comp. We've now seen the Sigma comp with great success. They have had their moments where they've re-pulled out the Doomfist as well. But all things considered, I think they just feel like a rejuvenated team, being able to put Gusagobo back on that tank, get Ligtad back on that DPS, and it just feels like the universe is now aligned for them to hopefully take a lead in the series.
Yeah, I mean, right now they look like everything's kind of going their way here. Factor X, they're having some like small mistakes, and I don't necessarily know what it is. It's just that I don't know if it's positioning. I don't know if it's the usage of their abilities. I don't know what, but Garfo is being able multiple times just to find everything they need. I feel like Dystopia building Bob up very quickly really helped them get that second point, because they were able to use it and force Factor X into corners, and that allowed Garfo to really just start playing aggressively again, just chasing them down, because there was really nowhere that Factor X could run.
I do think that was a ginormous help, is just how fast we've been able to see that get built up. Was the Ashes from the side of Garfo, as we do have a pause coming in. But as we saw, we had Garfo, who was lined up on the defense, back in with Gisobo on the Sigma. But Lava was currently showing the Zarya. So I actually really like the Zarya matching up into the Sigma. You just walk forward, get on top, don't let Sigma have that space, and once you get that charge beam up high, you just melt the Sigma. He can't eat your primary fire.
No, he can't. That's one thing that Zarya is really good at, just being able to kind of not have to deal with a lot when it comes to stuff that eats damage, something like a Diva defense matrix or the Sigma Grass, like you mentioned here. But it's going to be interesting to see if Garfo kind of expects this. Factor X, remember, the Zarya was banned out last map. It's now back here for them. Haven't seen them play it all night long, but this is a good opportunity to play it here. And already Gusagoba can take down very low, but that backline, Capian going to be able to find one Ligtat. It seems like Factor X tried to go over the roof, but it immediately punished them. Ligtat, though, will fall. Lava at least finding that late pick, but it's not really going to mean much.
I mean, it's definitely going to mean a little bit to where they have to definitely back up a little bit. But again, I've said this many times recently, I'm not a big fan of going over the building anymore. It's just so common now. So many teams are just ready for it, and you catch on to it. It's just better to just go main at this point.
Ooh, KR going to be able to find Capium out here pretty early on. You saw Lava highly charged. I mean, they are just going to be pumping out damage. Dystopia, though, this Ash pick has been great for them. They really haven't been tested at all. Going to be able to find Mickman Kaori now, just trying to get out of dodge. They do have the deflect and now a bubble on them to keep them alive, but that'll get them out of here. A smart play there by Lava to do that, but you're now at this very, very difficult choke point as Factor X just looking for something.
That they are, as Dystopia is already almost built up to a Bob for this next point. Same with Diabo for building up to this tidal wave blast. And I think that's how you're going to open things up here shortly for Garfo.
He already went in, got the bubble to keep them alive here, and now you see Gustagobo pop that grass, but it's just Lava pumping in just a normal beam, 100% charge up now, and the blast onto them here. Not going to be able to find any stuns other than onto the Bob, who's really just stalling out Cart. Kaori does find Dystopia here, but the Bob is really just taking the spot of them for the moment. LCS will fall, so no Orbital Ray disengagement. And I feel like that's something, if you're Factor X, you could not have allowed to happen. That Orbital Ray might have got you this first point, essentially for free.
I agree, but you are very close to this Graviton Surge. This could also be the answer to your woes and not being able to get this first point, but that's trades.
The Flex DPS traded out right there for both sides. Lava has the grab ready to go. The Flux comes out, but it gets canceled out immediately. A highly charged Zarya is a scary thing when you're staring down the barrel of it. And like I said, that Orbital Ray might just get them that point for free, and it does just that. And it comes at the cost of canceling out an ultimate on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, big deal coming in from the side of Factor X to be able to get that ult commitment out and still be able to get that point for free with just a one ult commit of your own. So you'll be able to come in this next fight, come in with 3, possibly 4. Grab Blade, grab Overclock. I mean, grab alone should be able to win you this fight. You're going to need to combo it.
Overclock out here from Mickman as they try to find something here early on. One pick might be all that Factor X really needs here to get up the hill a little bit more, but Ligtat in that backline, and Factor X knows here the Overclock gonna come and go. Really, I don't even think finding any damage from it there. Gusagobo, they're gonna be able to find Kaori before the Blade could even get pulled out there, and now if you're Factor X, I think this is almost worst case scenario here because you have this soft reset, and it's very, very hard to get going on this map.
Yes, we're going to see Gisobo trying to push the effort as the grab gets nobody. They're trying to avoid a possible E, but they are able to get Gisagobo in the end.
You know what? I'm going to think that's the first time I've ever seen a grab be used as essentially a zoning tool. Everyone for Garfo kind of split up. Gusugobo could not escape because they would have been pulled in no matter what, but it doesn't necessarily matter. At the end of the day, Garfo comes in, cleans up house. They don't need their tank right now. They're on fire.
That has definitely been the word of the match so far, is the fire that has been lit and caught underneath Garfo ever since they got their line up set. 2.5 minutes for Factor X on the second point. They're still going to have this Kaori blade, but you can definitely keep someone alive alone with just the nano. In worst case, you just throw Bob in the area that you're trying to blade, and you can't just go slicing and dicing so freely.
Has that now ready to go, like you said, Bob. Again, Dystopia, they used it the last time they died, but they stalled Cart with it, and Factor X couldn't really do anything against it. LCS, though, has Orbital Ray here. Kaori still holding on to the blade. Gonna come out here. One bubble already invested onto them here as they're looking for anything. Pops the deflect there, but it's gonna be Ligtat shutting them down. The Bob is out on the field. I believe it also has the nano invested onto it. Dystopia, Ligtat cleaning up already here, and if you're Factor X, I mean, you have 100 seconds here. This might be the time you go to the drawing board.
It's definitely something to think about. You still do have both your support ultimates for this next engagement. Milkman should be able to get up to the overclock as well. The only thing that you have online currently for Garfo is going to be the Sigma Flux, but man, Garfo just being able to play this high ground, Dystopia not being able to be touched is just finding so much value naturally. You have to find a way to, mitigate this amount of space and damage Dystopia is putting down.
Kaori trying to come in. LCS are going to be able to find Ligtat with those torpedoes. A great opening pick here, and Factor X has both those support ultimates ready to go here. Gusugobo, though, remember, their Flux last time they used it was basically canceled out by Lava, just beaming them down. Dystopia going to be able to try out LCS. No Orbital Ray this time around, but it will be the Tidal Blast shutting down Kaori, and there's the space you're looking for here if you're Factor X, but you're not going to be able to find Gusugobo, and if you found them there, that could have been something that got you that second point. Now you have a re-engagement tool here for Garfo, as they have the Flux and their own Tidal Blast. Ligtat gonna come back out the stall here. LCS has that Orbital Blast ready to go, but nice play there by Tizzy to stop the Tidal Blast from the other side from knocking them down. Gusugobo gonna be able to find one to grab out there from Lava as they're trying to clean up. There's the Flux, gonna be able to find a lot there, but now the healing and the damage coming out here from the Orbital Ray from LCS should do the job here for Factor X. It's been a challenge for them, but at least they're to that third point push. Don't have the same time bank, about 2 minutes less than what Garfo had.
Yeah, but with Escort, time is not really a huge issue. Even if you end up getting to overtime, it's going to be a minute difference, which, is a lot, but it's not the end of the world. It's like an extra fight or two. So again, you just need to make sure if you're Factor X, you get this across the line. They're going to have Kaori with the blade. But once again, we're still going to see this tectonic shock. You could throw Bob in, disrupt things. You could throw Nano in. It's just going to be tough to find value out of this blade.
And Dystopia hitting nothing but headshots right there on the Lava, almost taking them out pretty early on. Lava, though, going to be able to find Gusugobo. Bob coming out there, but it's going to be Kaori popping the blade and shutting down Dystopia here, but the Bob going to be able to stop the card here for a moment. Tizzy eventually takes them out. Factor X, through one fight there, did everything they needed to do, but now Garfo deciding it's time to make some swaps.
Going over to that beloved Doomfist of theirs. But that's really the only major swap they're making here. Let's see if that's going to change anything. I thought the Sigma was still doing fine, but I don't know. Let's watch it play out.
Final fight territory right now for Factor X. Cannot afford to lose anyone early on. Lava going to be able to bubble up a little bit here. Gusugobo goes a little bit too far in the backline with the punch. Going to be taken out here by Mickman with some help from essentially everyone. Nice Antonate out there from Capium. Going to be able to shut down 2 members here, but Factor X on the cart as they should have everyone. Now the Tidal Blast thrown onto Tizzy. Going after that high ground. Going to be able to find one with Capium. Make it 2 as they find Diabo. The deflect right back with the Dynamite. Going to be able to shut down Dystopia, and Factor X starting to get some momentum back here. Overtime will commence, but it looks like they're going to be able to complete the map and at least send us to an overtime here. Unless Ligtat has something to say about that, they're going to be able to stall it just long enough. Capium does have Nano ready to go. Investing it there onto Ligtat to stall it a little bit longer here. Factor X, you need to play smart here. You lose Kaori, but they didn't really have ultimate. LCS dies as well. Now it's starting to be scary here. If you're Factor X, Mickman shuts down Dystopia, came back out on the Widow, trying to find a pick. You lose Lava. Someone has a touch for Factor X. Oh, coming out for Mickman needs to make a difference here. Gusugobo finds one. You will will lose Diablo. Does someone get back to touch in time? Guzagabo finds a touch right there. Now you see more members of Garfo coming back out. It's going to be Linktat shutting them down. Garfo stops Factor X at the finish line. Garfo up 2-1.
And taking a lead in the series. This is the first time Factor X has found themselves down in a series all season long. This is a big time showing for the side of Garfo, and what a map.
Putting it all together when it matters here. I mean, coming out of the gate, Factor X go back to Lijiang Tower. 2 dominant points. And we kind of saw that same thing start on Sarabasa there. A dominant first point, able to win the second point. You have to remember, Garfo won Sarabasa by reverse sweep. They didn't need to do that there on Circuit Royale. And now, if you're Factor X, you have the next map pick again here. You just brought us to a map that you probably thought was a surefire win. Now you're going back to a drawing board of your own here to figure out where you're going to be taking us next.
Yeah, you also can say that the hero we've seen them most impressive on today has been the Ramatra for Lava, and that was banned out on this map. So at least going forward, you know, you're going to have that available for any maps you go to. For now, we have Push and Hybrid left as possible map types to go to before we reset, and you can pick whatever map type after that. So very interested to see which map type X Factor looks to take us to. I mean, if they want to continue to play this Ram composition, you could go to like a King's Row, or, you know, maybe like a Runasapi possibly. I don't know.
We have to remember, Ram was banned out there by Garfo that last map, and I think that did make a little bit of a difference. They have normally looked a lot better on Ram, especially with Lava, and I thought Lava was doing a good job throughout the night. But you start to see a little bit of a difference there that last map. As Gusagabo, they showed us their flexibility, was able to play a really good Sigma. Doomfist came back out to stop there from being in overtime, and man, did it make a huge difference yet again, much like it did on Sarabasa. So is it going to be Factor X's time here to say, get rid of the Doomfist just so we can even up the series and make it a best of 3? Or are they going to hold on that a little bit longer? As Ray, we do know what our next map is. It's going to be Push. They're going to be heading down to the South American map of Runasapi.
Yeah, this is kind of what I expected. Again, Ramatra is still going to be very potent on this map. It is also a very open map as well to make the Doomfist work. So if they want to go that direction, definitely, you know, I don't expect to see any Sigma, but could see Doomfist, could see a possibility of maybe Zarya's. But at least on the side of Factor X, I expect them to go in the direction of the Ramatra for this map.
I would expect that as well here, but it's going to be really interesting to see what Factor X decides to ban out here. It wouldn't surprise me to see Venture, honestly. It wouldn't. Actually, no, they can't do it. They've already done that. I forgot about that. Honestly, this might be a time here where you make a support ban if you're Factor X. I feel like that might just be the way to go for them, but there's so many things up in the air, as we've seen a lot of flexibility from these two teams through the 3 maps we've played already.
That there has been I think for specifically this matchup, as we're seeing Kiri getting banned for the side of Factor X, which we saw Garfo do that previously. So this is the last time Kiri can be banned, folks.
Garfo, now they get the ban. I mean, they cannot ban out Ramatra, but they've, you know, gone 2 for 2 with tank bans. Wouldn't surprise me to go back over 2 there, as we haven't even seen them touch the DPS line yet.
I mean, to me, at least, for the side of Factor X, it hasn't felt like, you know, any of the DPS were just going so insane that you're like, we have to ban this out. So the support and tank picks have definitely bared more fruit, as the Diva getting banned, as we've seen Lava definitely play that a good amount, and that would have been a good choice for Runasapi. So to me, that highlights even more that we're likely going to be seeing Ramatra coming out from Factor X.
Right now, I think this map is the most important map for Factor X in this series. Now, a loss doesn't end the series, but it makes it very difficult to get yourself back into, because you would have to win every map after that, and they would all be Garfo's pick. You need this one to go your way here so that you still have a little bit of options left later on if Garfo does end up winning a map after this one here. But I think these are two really good bans across the board. I think Kiri's got a lot of value from both teams, and D.Va, I think it's just a very smart ban, but I think both me and you do expect to see the Ramatra come back out here from Factor X.
Factor X finds themselves back against the wall for the first time all season long. How do they respond? We're about to find out. Alpaca.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's an alpaca. Oh. I totally just not say llama. But hey, we're heading into Runesapa here. This is a really fun map to see because, again, it's a push map. I feel like you can play a lot of different compositions on this one. We've seen dive, we've seen brawl, poke, rush. This is, I think, really the most all-rounded push map of the ones here. I feel like everyone else, you can kind of say, like, yeah, you know, this composition finds the most value here. But this one is really what's your best. And I think right now what we're seeing from each side here is, honestly, it's best v best here. The Torb is, no, Ray, I'm going to tell you this. The Torb is a serious pick.
No, I agree, especially when you're playing Doomfist, playing against Doomfist Venture. That turret can be definitely an annoying and a nuisance, so this doesn't surprise me at all. The Ana Wu Yang, I actually really like as this backline. Is definitely, like, very vulnerable and very squishy, but very potent in its offensive capabilities.
Just finding a lot of value for Garfo in these last two maps here. As Gusagobo already kind of diving in there, going to buy some space, but you immediately see Factor X just kind of walk in. Gusagobo now going into that backline here, but the turret from Kaori going to be able to slow them down here for a moment. The rivets coming out here from Kaori, already landing one headshot on the someone, but they're just trying to find a little bit more overload coming out. Going to be able to not find Ligtat as Gusagobo comes in to save Ligtat's life here. Lava trying to throw some punches, but Gusagobo might have a punch of their own here any moment as Dystopia finds Mickman out. And again, if you're Factor X, nothing's really going your way here as of like Garfo again winning the first fight. Tizzy and LCS trying to get out with their lives, but Gusagobo going to try to make sure that that does not happen.
Yeah, again, this Doomfist composition. I mean, we did see Gusagobo getting so low at the hands of Kaori. They just were able to get the kill in the end. And, I mean, Factor X is having a hard time dealing with the speed and chaos that this composition is going to provide because you got Doomfist coming from a front. Then from the flank in comes a Venture. And then from the other angle in comes a rail shot from Dystopia. It's just a lot to have to deal with. Plus, you got water getting thrown at you the entire time.
And water and metal does not go together very well most times. And Ligtat taking low again, going to be able to burn themselves out of here. Already the Amp Major's coming out there from Tizzy in that backline, but you lose Kaori again as Dystopia really starting to hit their shots. Mickman going back over to the cast that we saw from the map 1. And that cast map 1 was a menace. Ligtat, though, going to be able to shut down that support line there as Mickman falls as well. Tizzy trying to do what they can. But like Factor X, you already see it. More swaps coming out for them. But this should be Garfo getting these forward spawns.
It's insane. It's like you blink for a second, Dex, and if you got two picks coming in from the side of this composition from Garfo, and all they've really used is their Doomfist ultimate so far. Kaori off the Torb going back over to the Genji, so they just give up on all that ult capabilities. So Garfo is going to be quite ahead in this ult economy for the next couple of fights.
You could beat here if you're Factor X, but you really want to have a fight break out here. First, Dystopia, they're going to pop off with the overclock. Most of Factor X playing behind corners right now, but Dystopia could find some value. But Ligtat on this Venture has just been a menace here these last couple maps. And remember, Factor X, they can't do anything about it. They have already banned out our favorite geologist.
Yeah, we can see why with how much value Ligtat has been able to get out of this time and time again, as we see Kaori just trying to vibe, trying to battle for some kind of space. The Tectonic Shock now is going to come out, force out the beat.
Beat out here, and again, if you're Factor X, you need to get something going your way right now. The beat faded away here now, looking for a little bit more, and the Tidal Blast invested on the Mickman falls. You're going to get the stun there on to Tizzy and Garfo. Like, they seem unstoppable in Factor X. They can't do anything about it.
Unstoppable, they do look as we mentioned, they have the forward spawns. That's 100 meters and counting. They have just not looked back, and they still have a nano. Plus, they have their Doomfist ultimate once again. I mean, it's going to be tough to deal with an annihilation and a high noon, but it just feels like Garfo could deal with anything at this point.
Dystopia almost gets taken out right there, but a lot of support coming in from both Gusugobo and Ligtat. Meteor Strike again out here from Gusugobo to keep themselves alive here. Looking for what they can get a focus here on Lava. Not going to be able to find a lot of damage with it. Nice flashbang there by Mickman, but they get punched away now. Finally, you're going to get a huge pick there with Gusugobo falling. I don't know how much longer Garfo's really going to stay in this fight. A lot of their team play and a lot of how they've been playing has been just based off of how well Gusugobo was able to build space. You find Dystopia, but you lose Lava. Oh, you get one thing going away for Factor X, and then it immediately gets turned on you.
Here we go. Nano was thrown in. Same with the blade from Kaori, but a big anti-nade comes in.
Oh. And this backline, you talked about it. This backline from Garfo has been, I think, maybe the most, we haven't talked about it enough. Capium and Diabo playing this Honor Wu Yang has just been able to do so much damage to this Factor X team. And oh my goodness, there goes 3 members of Factor X, about to be 4 here. And now, I mean, if you're Factor X, half that time bank is gone. You don't even have a meter.
Yeah, they're rounding the final corner to possibly deliver this. They're still going to have an overclock. They're still going to have a tidal wave blast. They're going to have a tectonic shock. Everything in their favor at this point. Let's see what they do with this overclock.
Overclock out there. Tidal Blast going to be able to find 2. The Nano going to be invested there onto Mickman to keep them alive, but you need a lot more support here now. Factor X falling one by one, and the team that we talked about coming in is almost looking unbeatable. Well, they're very much beatable at the moment here, Ray. Garfo going to look for a team kill here. Deadeye coming out from Mickman, not going to find anything, punched into the ground. Ligtat finds LCS and Garfo. 1 map win away from just shocking the South American region.
What a statement Garfo have come into this series and made after map number 1. Once they had their lineup in place, they have just been dominating, and Factor X finds themselves in they have to win the next 3 maps in a row, or their first loss on the season is going to be in grand finals.
I mean, that's always the case with some of these undefeated teams. You look unbeatable. We talked about it. Our Factor X only dropped 2 maps throughout the entire season. One of them was to Garfo, but they had this perfect playoff run lining up for them. 9 map wins in a row to get these grand finals. They got number 10, and now they have their longest losing streak of the season now at 3 straight maps. Garfo has figured something out, and Factor X has not been able to solve it.
It has just been a beauty to see a team who, by all means, could be feeling so pessimistic. Like, man, we faced these guys 3 times, or however many it had been at this point, and we've only been able to take a single, it was 3 times, mid-season, regular season, and play and winners finals, and we've only been able to take 1 map on them. But no, they came in with the plan. Their Doomfist compositions have been looking absolutely perfect. Even on Circuit Royale, the Sigma was able to come through very strong, and they find themselves in the driver's position. So we got at most 3 more maps left, and all you got to do is make sure you can win 1. And once this next map concludes, let's just say Factor X is able to bounce back and win the next one, you control your own destiny for the next 2 maps, because you'll get to pick the final 2 maps and what bans first.
Well, there's only 1 more mode left in the game that we have yet to play, and that is Hybrid. And Ray, I imagine you know where we're going for this one. Factor X's season. Yep, Factor X's season. They're putting their hands, or they're resting it here on a Kings Row map pick. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough. Garfo has just been able to play excellently these last 2 maps.
I will say, you can say that a map like Kings Row, the brawl is what tends to reign supreme on a map like this. So if you do want to play that Ramatra-based composition, I think it's going to be of your benefit on a map like Kings Row. But they just have not been able to find any sort of answer so far for the Doomfist. And to me, it's more than just a Doomfist at this point. The Venture has just been so potent.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. How much value that Garfo has been getting from this venture pick, it's been almost insane. I mean, and the same thing, the Doomfist has been able to open up a lot, but dear God, the venture was just all over the place. We talked about it. They can't ban out venture anymore. They banned out venture, I believe, map 2. So you have made your bed with these bans. If you're Factor X, it might be time to ban out a Wu Yang here if you can.
Yeah. I mean, you called it. I wasn't sure about that one, but that has been the idea of where they're going. I mean, I will say, yeah, the tidal wave blast, they have taken huge advantage of it, and it has felt like that the Wu Yang has found a lot of value. If you are Garfo, how do you look to respond here? Obviously, you can't ban Ramacha. They've targeted tanks every single time. They have yet to go down the route of banning any DPS so far. Do they look to do that this time? Maybe ban a cast, so you ban, one of the heroes who inhibits your Doomfist pretty heavily? I don't know.
3 for 3 on tank bans. Even if you just want to throw a ban, you've been doing pretty good banning out tanks.
You're not wrong.
Garfo banning out first time they go into that DPS line. This is definitely to go after Mickman, because we talked about how well they played this cast back on the first map. However, you saw the cast come back out for them in the last map to try to slow down that Doomfist, to try to slow down that venture. It really didn't slow either of them down. I like it as just to make sure you don't get slowed, or there's no possibility of being slowed down, but you have shown that you could beat it in the past.
Yeah, I think, this just puts us in a spot where it also, as we talked about, as I kind of mentioned in the preamble 12, that the Cassidy can also do a good job with that flashbang grenade of limiting what you could do on the Doomfist. At this point, if I'm X Factor, I think anything goes. Like, at this point, I might just whip out the arrest at this point. Like, the Fortify, there's something you can do about that. The Javelin goes crazy into the Doomfist. And you also just have a lot of tankiness to survive and help your team out with the venture as well.
I mean, I think the biggest problem that Factor X is dealing with right now is just the
here we go.
And this is what I was gonna say here. I believe COD just ended. Cameron's back now. Tizzy can go back to playing the tank. I think Lava had a really good series, but this has been the lineup that we've seen for Factor X throughout this entire season. And man, Ray, does this kind of feel like those storybook kind of comebacks that you see in movies a lot of time, where someone shows back up and everything changes? Is that this moment now for Factor X in this grand finals?
Is this the hero who comes in at the 9th hour to save the day when everything's looking hopeless, when you're down 3-1, looking like you're going to take your first loss in the grand finals? Shining light comes down, in comes Cameron. Tizzy's like, woo, I could go back over to the tank. Things are looking up for us. The question is the hole that they've dug too deep, or can they reel off 3 in a row?
And again, we came into the series talking about this. This Factor X team, this iteration of it has won a lot. Won Season 6 Masters, won a couple off-season tournaments as well. This is the last time that this group is going to be under the Factor X banner. A lot of them have already moved on to other teams for the next season of FACEIT. This is the last time they're going to be representing Factor X, at least for the moment. The majority of them have gone to In Control, Dil Patos, Iliad Helios. I want to go out with a win here. Is this the moment right now where the comeback starts? I could see it. Tizzy on this diva I talked about with you, Ray, before the series started, maybe one of the scariest tanks and one of the best tanks in the entirety of the South American region. I think they can single-handedly really flip a lot on this diva. Now they need to flip an entire series on its head here.
Anyone can say that, no worries about Cameron being cold, because they've been playing CAW this entire time. So, they've been thoroughly warmed up playing some intense games. They're definitely ready for this. So let's see how these changes are. I mean, we saw it. We saw the light click for Garfo when they had their lineup, perfectly aligned with Guisagapo coming in on the tank.
Gusagobo going to be diving in there. We're seeing actually Mickman mirror the venture here. Something we did see him play a little bit early on, but LATAM was not playing it at that moment. So we have the mirror there now. Kaori, no hit scan right now for Factor X. This flex DPS line here had some value when we played a map earlier on, but struggled with it throughout. Tizio going to be able to come back on the tank, find the first pick, but you lose LCS. Your speed now gone. A very vital part of this Factor X comp, but it seems like Garfo doesn't really want to engage without LATAM either.
Yeah, I mean, Factor X is doing a good job of just playing their space and playing their angle, so the Doomfist can't really get on top of anybody. Especially when you're playing Kiri too, you can just TP and avoid. You have Suzu, you just have so many escape opportunities from this Doomfist. We're just seeing cleanup duty coming out. You do get Kaori, but I mean, to me, that's just, you know, of little consequence because Tracer will be back fast, and you get Diabo very late anyway.
And Tizzy going to be able to escape there with their life. LCS should probably back up a little bit here as well. Tizzy almost getting DMAC'd here. Cameron LCS trying to pump all the healing they can into them right now. Gusagabo getting very low here. Has to play safe. Has to play passive for a moment. Got to slow down Garfo here. A minute gone. Looking a lot better here for Factor X. Mickman has to burrow in the ground, but it's actually going to be the Ventures taking each other out there in a trade in the truest sense of it all. Kiara trying to find one right there, but LCS taking out again pretty early on here. Tizzy could build up to a bomb here, and if you're Factor X, you really want them to. Cameron has Kitsune. Going to be able to TP out, though.
Is they are going to give up a tick, which I think is a smart thing to do. Oh, but with Cameron going down, that just takes all of that off of the table. You get the Doomfist ult coming out. You can still look to stall as long as you can, especially since you have the remake ability from Tizzy.
But who's going to be the touch here for Factor X? Is everyone kind of being bullied out here for the moment? LCS almost winning the duel here with Gusagobo, the Bob coming out from Dystopia. Been key for them in the past. Dystopia finding two. Kitsune Rush out on the point, but the Bob, MVP for the fight. Bob, MVP for the fight. Finds 4.
I don't like that. I don't like that from Factor X. It felt like they put all their eggs. I don't know why when they were already down 2, they looked to commit Kitsune and their remake. I don't know if they're just feeling the pressure, feeling their backs against the wall, but to me, that was them trying to make star plays where they didn't need to at that point.
I mean, I have to agree with you there. The bomb finding 2 really didn't matter much at the end, yeah. I mean, finding 2 is huge. Pulse bomb coming out there from KR, not going to be able to do much here, but you would really love to have it here for the street phase of this map. Very difficult to kind of gain momentum back. Factor X wants to play up at the choke. Already, Tectonic Shocks coming out. Beacon be able to keep them alive as Mickman did try to just fade away or go into the ground. Cameron going to be able to find Capium on the other side, and Factor X looking like I thought they were going to be able to stabilize there, but losing Kaori, you might still have to play back a little bit. Tizzy, though, could try stall for as long as they can.
Yeah, you have a tank who can definitely play the stall game for quite a long time. We'll see if they're going to look to continue to do this. We see them dropping down, trying to look for an assassination. They are able to get out and continue to play this corner.
Capium does have Kitsune Rush. Diabo has beat here as well, so Garfo, they could pop both these support ultimates and really go in as aggressively as they want. They've been loving to do that throughout the entire series so far here. Kaori gets back, almost gets taken out almost immediately here. Has the off bango as Diabo trying to chase down LCS. LCS can be able to get out here with their life. Kitsune Rush coming out here now from Capium on the cart. Factor X just going to sacrifice some space here. Get rid of one strong ultimate. Still has the beat ready to go for Garfo though. LCS now again in a little bit of trouble here. Tizzy trying to buy them some time. You already see Gosugabo come right back in. Meteor Strike out. Dystopia going to be able to find LCS. Dystopia has just been coming alive here throughout this entire series. Gosugabo takes out one. Mickman going to be able to trade it out here, but will there be enough of a time here for a touch? Tizzy gets taken out of mech at 95 to bomb. Second point should be going the way here of Garfo pretty early on, and what looked like a good start for Factor X is slowly starting to fall apart.
As that is point cap for the side of Garfo. Just under 4 minutes to be able to get this second point. Cameron has that Kitsune Rush, but still a lot of tools at disposal for Garfo. They can throw Bob in at any point. If Kitsune Rush does get thrown in, you have the beat drop to sustain yourself. Kaori, however, does find Dystopia, which definitely, in my opinion, Garfo, you got to chill a little bit without Dystopia.
Blake Tech going to be able to get out there for free. Punch coming out there actually misses everyone, but you're going to be able to... I thought you were going to be able to get out with your life, but Tizzy finds them in Factor X. This is exactly what you needed here. You needed a fight to eat away at that time bank and just at least give you some space here because you want to try to play aggressively as well.
Garfo looking to re-engage. My guess is they'll be looking to use Bob here, possibly the Tectonic Shock. But, yep, there's the Bob.
Bob found 4 last time. Bob, I think, almost gets booped off the map. Tizzy, though, going to be able to find that there. Lake Tat pops the Tecton shot, gets killed immediately. And now Mickman has one of their own, finding Diablo out. No beacon to come out. Gusagabo falls as well. Mickman with 3. Mickman looking for more. LCS going to be able to find the 4th one here. And the last one left alive, running for their life. Going to be taken out in the corner of a bar where they are the loneliest one of all.
That was the kind of team fight you needed to see coming out from Factor X. We do see Lake Tat getting off of that venture, going over to the Genji now. We'll see how much that can actually do for them. Diablo's still going to have this beat drop to use at any time, and given they've gotten some pretty big ultimates out of it, they can look to use this beat aggressively if they do so choose.
Gusagabo trying to just buy them some space, already up on the high ground as they just say hi to Tizzy up in that window. Gusagabo very low. Does he come out here from Diablo? No. Gonna hold onto it here for the moment. Bomb beat ready. LCS gonna be able to find Lake Tat, who swapped over to that Genji Kaori now. Ever since they swapped over to the Soj has been a difference here for this Factor X squad. Now the Meteor Strike coming out there from Gusagabo, trying, I think it just essentially got them out of a sticky situation. And now, I mean, a minute and a half left here for Garfo. You're coming up to a lot of ultimates, though. You have your opening here. Factor X, though, has the same number of ultimates online right now. And each team kind of buying their time, playing some space. Nice dime right there by Dystopia. Beat now out here from LCS. Kaori pops the overclock, looking for a lot here. Kitsune out from Capium. But you see just Garfo completely negated. They're just going to fall back instead. So wasted ultimate there now for Garfo.
As Garfo had been on such a tear, but Factor X has found their footing on this 3rd point. This high ground control that you can take with Tizzy on this D.Va has been showing, you know, just why D.Va is such a good pick right now and how this 3rd point can be tough to push through sometimes, especially on a Doomfist.
Beat coming out from Garfo. Look at how aggressively they start playing there. They're going to be able to find one, but you immediately lose 2. Dystopia trades it back out there, so even across the board, you lost both 1 DPS and 1 support. Oh, could have been an excellent drill right there, but Gusagabo able to keep themselves alive with that jump. Now, though, they're trying to get out with their life very low. Bob is out somewhere on the field from Dystopia, but that's an ultimate you might want back there. Capium, though, finds 1, and if you're Factor X, you only have the bomb coming up here. You need to kind of play safe. Kaori, though, a huge difference maker. Going to be able to shut down Diablo.
Yeah, and they're just continuing to find picks as we're down to the final 15 seconds. They're going to find the picks. Do they have a touch at this point? I don't think they do, Dex.
You still have at least Diablo, who could come flying in. They're wall riding there, get denied. LCS trying to boop them away, but actually it's Lake Tat with the blade. Overtime will commence here. Diablo looking for the next touch, but they are just going to be noticed immediately. Kaori finds them there, and it's not going to be enough there for Gusagabo to get back in time. Factor X gets a hold here. They give themselves a win condition, but it's still very, very hard to get as far as Garfo did.
Just when you thought things were looking rough for the side of Factor X, they clutch up in the end. Just needed a couple of team fights as a new group together to get things going as they'd been separated this entire time. Just had to reintegrate Cameron properly. And once they did, they absolutely dominated. Now let's see how they do. Still, pressure's on them. They have to win this map to keep themselves alive. Let's see how this attack goes.
I mean, you look at the stats here, though, from this first round. Dystopia with almost 10,000 damage. I mean, they were playing a really excellent Ashe. And, I mean, 15 kills. They were the only person on the side of Garfo that had over double-digit kills. The Bob finding 4 to gap that first point, I think, was huge for them. I think without that Bob there, I think they still cap first point. I don't think they cap it as fast as they do, though.
I agree. Dystopia has been on a tear on this Ashe. So I think that's one thing you have to continue to look at and be aware of this sign of Factor X. We do see that Kaori currently going over to the Sojourn, and we're going to have the Hanzo as well. Looks like Kaori's going to just look to take a couple shots with this Widow. We'll see if they swap over to the Mate, because they were hovering for a second.
Oh, what a sleep! Anti out as well. This could be a moment here where Factor X tries to punish them, but Gusagabo going to be able to get out with their life. Kaori, like you said, over from the Widow, back onto the Soj here. I like this, but Lake Tat finding Mickman out. That's not who you want to see fall early here for Factor X, but Gusagabo, Lake Tat low here, going to be able to get healed back up. I like the support line a little bit better now for Garfo, but Dystopia also in a spot that is very hard to dislodge them from.
Yeah, I do like the bring on, especially when you can just chill on the high ground and protect each other. And Dystopia just being able to continue hit shots like that, because not only is that Berg a good bodyguard for your Ana, it's a good bodyguard for your Ashe, especially when you're playing Diva, trying to get on top of these supports. So, as you mentioned, very good change up to the support line for the side of Garfo.
I mean, it's just a little bit more sustainable as well. You have that dive backline that you're seeing from them. They can play up on the high ground, and it's going to take a lot to really do anything to them. Factor X trying to rotate around to the right side high ground, while Tizzy's still on that low ground. LCS up there now. You see the dive from Tizzy trying to dislodge that backline. Capium getting kind of low here, close to a nano. Huge play there from Mickman. Going to be able to really help them find two, but it's immediately traded right back out by that support line for Garfo. Dead and gone. Factor X, they have an opportunity here. Dystopia will fall. Lake Tech going to try to buy them some time, but it's not going to be enough. Actually, Tizzy gets demeched here. I thought there was guaranteed point cap. Now, I don't think it is.
No, it definitely is not. It's still possible they can find an extra pick here. They still have the numbers advantage, and it looks like they are going to touch, but for how long can they keep it going? With Cameron going down, the team's looking like they're trying to back out here.
Factor X, they really cannot afford to lose much more time here. That's kind of playing it into Garfo's hands now. Ultimate's about to be online here for them. Already have the nano. I expect that to be kind of thrown out here pretty early on. Tizzy could throw bomb just on point here. Just try to get a quick point cap, because that's all they need is one cap. Nano invested on the Gusagaba here pretty early on. Tizzy immediately turns around to try to save their team. Nano, though, still doing enough to keep them alive as Factor X playing their time here. Gusagaba trying to get rid of KR, but Mickman going to be able to shut down Capium there. No more Ana on the other side. Meteor Strike not going to be able to find most. Dystopia needs to be a difference maker in this fight. Going to be able to shut down one, but with that kill right there, Garfo going to have to surrender to this first point as Factor X 4 minutes to push through street phase, and now they're going to be chasing some kills here.
I will say, because of the win condition you put yourself on, you don't have to worry about making sure you have to cap all 3 points or making sure you cap with time. You just got to make sure you're able to get through the streets phase and then give yourself at least a decent amount of time. Give yourself at least a few cracks at it on 3rd point to try and force a map number 5. No, it'd be 6.
Yeah, map number 6. That right there was such a really awkward kind of engagement there by Garfo. I mean, you had 2 members that were up. It looked like Ligtat tried to get back Gusagabo. And Capium tried to get back as well, but it just ended up staggering out a little bit more. Kaori now going to be able to slide away, but Tizzy's still up here. Kaori now actually popping off with the overclock, trying to find a little bit here. Going to be able to find a decent amount of damage, but at the same time, all this is really doing is just buying their team some space. Bione going to be able to find one, but the rally out from Diablo going to be able to shut them down. Factor X now kind of has to back up. Tizzy trying to get out of dodge. Does have bomb if they get demeched here, but is this the moment where they want to use it? Looks like the answer is yes. It's actually going to be able to find Gusagobo. Now if you're Factor X, you have everything you kind of need to go into this fight. You're trying to get rid of Ligtat. Going to be able to find them, but it comes at the cost of LCS. A costly ultimate now gone, and you see Factor X just playing slow, waiting for Bob to disappear.
I think this is okay, considering you got 2. You're gonna back out if you're the side of Garfo, and you're gonna be in a position where he's got to win one more fight. Kitsune Rush comes out.
Kaori, they have been a difference maker on this Soj. As I've said multiple times already, they have really taken over that hit scan reign here from Mickman, as Mickman has been playing an excellent adventure. Cameron shuts down Capium out as well. Garfo trying to find whatever they can. Ligtat, though, LCS going to be able to find Gusagabo. Ligtat pops the tectonic shocks, trying to find what they can here, but eventually it will fade away. Not going to be able to do anything there. The final touch coming out there from Diablo to slow him down, but 341 to get to that golden box of victory right there for Factor X to keep the series alive.
And to me, that is plenty of time to be able to get this done. Mickman taking a lot of damage there. Forces the Doomfist ultimate, so you don't have to worry about that anymore if you're the side of Factor X.
Factor X 20 meters in, 30 meters to go. You're going to get halfway there at some point in this fight. LCS has beat, Capium has Nano. Those are the only ultimates that we could see here pretty early on in this fight. But Gusagobo finds Kaori out, and LCS decides we need to invest now. 3 people in a corner. Cameron going to be able to find one. LCS gets anted up here. Ligtat going to be able to shut down Mickman. LCS comes right back. Cameron, the support line for Factor X, doing everything in this fight. Tizzy going to be able to shut down Ligtat, but Garfo should still be able to come back out. Gusagobo focuses there on card. Tizzy going to be able to find them. 3 members on card. Factor X, this could be their opportunity.
It could, as the bombs are going to get thrown out. Do they get anything? They don't. I don't know if I like that. Nano's now available to be able to throw it in from the side of Capium.
That could be something that comes back to bite them, but Tizzy, they're going to be able to find one on the Dystopia. There's the Nano out on the Gusagobo. They're trying to find anyone right there. Tizzy with 2. Right now, Garfo needs to try to find a miracle. They found it before. Can they find it again? The answer this time will be no. Factor X. It continues the series here. Back at full strength.
What a match, what a series we have between these two teams. And I think this is just going to be an interesting story to tell, Dex, because map 1, we see the domination coming out from Factor X when, you know, we had just Gisagobo not here on that tank roll, and we had LATAM having to do that. Then they get their players back in their proper roles, and they go on a 3-map tear. While this entire time, Factor X is not at their full strength because they have Tizzy on support because they don't have their support from Calling All Heroes. They come back in, and now they are firing back strong. 3-2. They got to win 2 more maps, though, if they want to pull off the comeback.
And you have to remember, they can no longer ban out D.Va, and that's what Tizzy, I think, really likes to play. But again, a very flexible tank there from them. So it's going to be hard now. You're going to start seeing bans really come out that...
Now the maps reset, too.
Yeah, that as well. Maps reset, bans don't. Those bans are going to be very important here, but I think after that map, I think we're going to throw it over to a little bit of a quick break, give the team some time here to catch their breath, because I feel like there's 2 more maps ahead of us here, Ray. So we're going to throw it over to a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Factor X keeps the series alive here. Garfo, though, one map victory away from being crowned your champions here of the South American region in CGL. And luckily for them, they get the next map pick. And Ray, they've already decided where they are going to bring us. It's going to be Nepal here.
Not a huge shocker. To me, it wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see them play. The Doomfist has been the one thing that has been a current thread in their comeback outside of Circuit Royale, where they did play Circuit. The question for X Factor is, do they continue to play this diva, or do they look to go to some other direction? But again, Garfo will also get the first ban as Factor X trying to mount a comeback after digging a 3-1 hole after they had only dropped 2 maps on the entire season.
Yeah, and we talked about this. What's the ban going to be here for Garfo? They've already banned out what I think has significantly been the best heroes for Factor X throughout the night. They haven't really touched the support line yet. That could be something where we go. It could be Soj, because it feels like we saw an excellent performance there that last map from them.
We have seen both teams, I believe, ban out Curie at one point. As Garfo's going to ban the Sim, which I find extremely interesting. I don't know if that's just something they don't want to deal with, or if that's they've seen Factor X, as the teams know each other pretty well, are known for playing here, but we haven't seen a huge amount of Sim. I mean, we saw it a little bit back on Lijiang Tower, but it's definitely more powerful on that map than it is on Nepal.
This is actually, no, this is smart. Kaori played an excellent Symmetra back on Lijiang Tower. So you go into another control
no,
map.
I'm not doubting that. I just mean, like, I just feel like that pick is a lot stronger on Lijiang Tower than, say, Nepal. Not that it's not a bad pick on Nepal. It's just not as effective. But Ana is going to be the pick coming in from Factor X for their ban. So they don't want to have to deal with any kind of anti-nades or sleep shenanigans, which is interesting because that's one of the heroes who, if you're getting your paces taken to by a Doomfist, Ana tends to be one of those characters you swap to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely here. But I mean, this is still going to be a very difficult kind of, I think for Factor X, this is a very interesting ban. Like you said, Garfo's been playing it a lot. They really have been. That's actually been one thing we haven't seen a lot tonight throughout this entire series, has been mirroring support lines. We saw it there for a little bit, I believe, on King's Row, where both of them were running Lucy Kiri, but when Garfo went on the defensive side, it became that Brigana again, and it's been finding them a lot of value throughout the night. I like this ban here for Factor X, and like I said, I like the ban for Garfo as well. Kaori is an excellent sim, like I mentioned. Even though you said it's a little bit weaker here, I have seen them play it. Have seen Kaori play sim on their Faces team on this map, where again, 3 of the other members of this Factor X squad are part of their NA Faces Masters team.
Yeah, I mean, given all that, again, like I said, these teams do have familiarity with each other, so it's not a surprise that they would know that, it's definitely a popular pick for Kaori specifically on this map. So let's see the adjustments we see come out from the side of Factor X to deal with that, as Kaori is going to stay on that Sojourn, which, I mean, no surprises here. Kaori was a big carry for Factor X on that King's Row map on the Sojourn.
I said a difference maker for the most part. Mickman, I don't think got enough credit on the venture. It really slowed down what Garfo did on the same hero as well. And we saw venture from Ligtat really kind of take over the map.
He's going over to the Mauga as well for this map.
Interesting, especially because I feel like Mauga might be the most punchable target in the game, really. But look at that Garfo back. Are they going to change? They are.
Sigma. Wow, I'm really surprised they're willing to burn the Sigma this early. I'm not sure I like this Sigma matchup. We'll see how it goes, but if you play your cards right, I still think the Mauga is fine into it.
The accretion, the grasp is going to be something that Gusagaba is going to have to be using pretty frequently here. Dystopia, though, finding Kaori out, that's exactly who you need to get rid of, as Ligtat just TP straight to point, try and get the back cap. Mickman gonna be able to find one, but the Dynamite gonna be able to shut them down. Nice run there from Tizzy to get back to point, but Ligtat tries to escape, already used the Wraith form here, but they're gonna be able to shut down LCS before they could find them out as well. Cameron falls, Tizzy is somewhere, but nowhere near the point.
That was again all
Oh,
about
they're on.
Dystopia being able to get in there and find a quick and early pick, and that's a late stagger on a Tizzy, which is not what you wanted. So that has to be, you know, ipso de facto #1 for Factor X is getting in on top of Dystopia, not allowing them to just get free picks.
And Tizzy, I was immediately looking at them after they died there. Were they going to make the swap? Yes, they're going over to the Ramatra here now. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these counter swaps from these teams now the rest of this series, whether it's one map or whether it's two. Tizzy already trying to get rid of Gusagobo there. Diabo does have the Tidal Blast ready to go. Lake Tat, though, going to be able to get that thrown onto them to keep them alive as Tizzy was just punching them down. Lake Tat will find Tizzy and get the TP, a backup on the safety. Huge play coming out there from Lake Tat as Garfo extends their lead and extends the space they're taking.
Garfo with a little bit of pressure mounting, needing to make sure they take one of these two final remaining maps. Doesn't like their matchup with the Doomfist into the Mauga, able to swap and play that Sigma. Let's see how this Ramatra adjustment comes out for the side of Factor. I can see if they can make some magic happen.
LCS and Cameron getting good kind of just an idea where everyone is. Good scouting. Now the Kitsune Rush out here from Cameron, trying to get Tizzy some space here. Going to be able to buy them that. The point cap, I think Factor X is going to be able to get it for free here. Lake Tat, though, I think they're the ones who's getting a touch here right now, but they're going to shut down. Bob now coming out, going to be able to stall it out for a brief moment, but the point will eventually flip. Bob, though, in a spot that could still do damage here. Mickman going to be able to find the Dystopia, and Garfo looking like they're just going to fall back to reset here, but Factor X, they want to try to stagger them out a little bit. The Flux, they're fluxing into this here. Tizzy should be able to stay alive. No one really dying, and Gasagobo staying alive through all that's insane.
I mean, that's all fine and dandy as the beat's now going to come out. I'm not sure I like the fluxes. Now the tectonic shock comes out as well. McMahon finds one.
Already trying to find some more here. Tizzy going to be able to chase down Capium there. And now Garfo, a full reset here. Factor X not going to be able to take the lead just yet, but they are cutting into it. And there's the Doomfist right back here. I feel like I said, a lot of counter swaps coming up.
As a result, Lake Tat use the Death Blossom. They're not able to find any kills, but Gisavo is able to find the Cameron.
And Lake Tat able to find Mickman out there as well. Factor X get him for the point flip for free here. You have ultimates coming up. Kaori has Overclock. Tizzy has Annihilation. You might just be... Okay, I didn't know you could TP up there. Tizzy might just use the Annihilation just to try to get the point here. They already noticed that Lake Tat's up there. Wraith Form coming out, so that's already gone here. An Overclock coming out from Kaori here, trying to buy some space. Overtime will commence here. TP out there as well from Lake Tat to keep them alive. Kaori, they're going to be able to find them after they form back into reality there. Punch coming out from Gusagobo, not going to be able to find much there, but Diabo shuts down Cameron. Now there's the Annihilation out from Tizzy, and if this fight lasts a little bit, it could be final fight, but everyone from Garfo plays that perfectly. Runs away. That Annihilation was there and gone in the blink of an eye. Dystopia, though, going to be taken out by Kaori, and now you're starting to see Factor X pincer here a little bit, finding a couple kills. Need to find a couple more. Lake Tat coming back out on the Tracer. That's their touch right now.
Yeah, down to needing to be able to make sure they have a touch. Factor X doing the right thing and backing up and looking to heal up and look to re-engage. Here we go. Lake Tat looking to touch. Oh, no, McMahon goes down.
There's the touch. Cappy, I'm going to throw their first ultimate out there. LCS pops the beat there. Kitsuno's also ready for Cameron. They're going to hold on to it. Tizzy does find one. Tidal Blast thrown out there onto, I believe it's Lake Tat. Going to be able to stun out Tizzy. Now there's the Kitsune Rush out. Meteor Strike out as well. Not going to be able to find much. Tizzy able to punch the lights out. The Doomfist has been punching them throughout this entire map. Diabo, huge, finding more picks, but there's not enough support here right now or players for Garfo. I think Diabo will fall. Dystopia not going to be able to get back in time, and Factor X. Whew, a close one, but they come out on top.
Who, by the skin of their teeth, able to get that through and capped. And again, I mean, like I said, they came out on the Malga, had a favorable matchup in the Doom. They realized that went Sig, then they went Ram to match the Sig, and then the Sig went back to Doom. So, I mean, from what we've seen throughout these last two maps, decks, it feels like the capabilities of Gisagobo is Doom and Sig. We haven't seen anything else out of them. So if you're Factor X, you at least have that knowledge at this point where these are the only two heroes we're going to see. So he's got to make sure we can effectively counter each of them, you know, given the different scenarios.
Yeah, you can see the friendly banter going on in the chat right there. I mean, a lot of these players have been going up against each other for so long that a lot of them are probably really good friends at this point here. But Gusagabo now kind of in a bad spot where they have to use all their abilities just to get out of dodge. Factor X going to be able to kind of take all the space here as Garfo rotates down to the main choke point here. Gusagabo going to be able to get up on that high ground, but Kaori up there, and that's someone who you really don't want to be dealing with right now. Disruptive shot. Actually be able to find a decent amount of damage there. As you look at Garfo right now, almost all of them other than one or two at now going to be under 50% health. Point is open. Factor X, one body on it, trying to get an early cap, but Diabo, talk about someone who's been getting a lot of picks here. Going to be able to find Mickman out. LaTAM finds LCS, and Factor X was so close to capping the first point here, but it looks like it's going to be going over to Garfo as LaTAM finds one more.
Yeah, I like the idea of trying to take the high ground, especially from Garfo. Dystopia was up there just absolutely raining down shots. So if you're Factor X, I feel like you got to look to try and pat this high ground from here on out because you can't just let Dystopia have that for free.
Factor X looks like they're going to be going through the high ground here. Gusagabo can get up there at a moment's notice, but you already see Mickman burrowing into the ground, going to be coming out, trying to focus in on, I believe that's Capium there, but they're going to be able to just TP away, keep themselves alive. Diabo finding, again, the first pick on the Mickman here. Almost an exact repeat of what we saw in the first fight, and if you're Factor X, you can really not allow that to happen here time after time again.
To see, we have two players left, so two returning picks coming out from the side of Factor X, and they should be able to flip this point.
They're going to be able to flip it easy, even without their venture there, which I thought they kind of needed. And you see Mickman just give up on the venture on this map. Going to be matching LaTAM on the other side.
Plenty of ults. The Tideway Blast that Garfo seem to be able to get a lot of value out of. They can throw that onto their Genji. They can throw that onto Dystopia. They both have ultimates they can use to try and make sure they get maximum value out of them, as I'm sure Cameron going to be looking to use this Kitsune Rush very aggressively. That's what they've been doing ever since they got here.
Nice ping from whoever saw there. Dystopia trying to take that off angle. Diabo again finding Mickman out. Third straight fight that Mickman has been killed by the hands of Diabo, and this time they were literally killed by the hands of Diabo. Tidal Blast coming out there. LaTAM pops the blade, not going to be able to find much. Tizzy though going to be able to get one with that Vortex as Factor X going to be able to take the lead. Meteor Strike coming out there from Gusagabo, not going to be able to find much. Beat out from LCS to try to keep Factor X in this fight. Tizzy did invest in Annihilation, but much like what we saw on the last point, not going to be able to find much. 2 health and a dream, but it turns into a nightmare as Cameron finds them there. Factor X going to be able to stabilize here. Nice Vortex, finding a little bit more. Capium, though, going to be able to escape with their life as Factor X going to start rotating back towards point here.
As it ended up being an extremely expensive fight, as they ended up using 4 ultimates. They did get Garfo to respond with 3, but basically this Dystopia overclock and or the Capium Kitsune Rush completely free for this next fight.
Gusagabo just flew right past KR there. LaTAM going to be able to find Mickman. Mickman has not had a good time this map. They've been, I think, the first pick every fight so far. Cameron, though, going to be able to trade it out there. No overclock. As Dystopia kind of, voices their displeasure. Tizzy going to be able to find Diabo up, but at the cost of Kaori. Factor X, I really see it at this point. I think they're just going to try to stall out on this point. 499 before they even consider letting Garfo take it. Dystopia now back in the fray. Going to be able to pop that overclock and Kitsune Rush out as well. LaTAM finding Cameron. Tizzy taken out. They're going to get what they want. They're getting up the 9-9. Mickman now onto the third hero, playing the Tracer, but it looks like Garfo going to be able to take point.
So you're probably going to get 2 more fights out of this if you're the side of Factor X to try and turn this around. Garfo's a little bit in a vulnerable spot here, so they don't really have any ultimates coming online, but neither do you. I mean, Mickman should be able to get a pulse, but your only other ultimates that are closer, Kitsune and Annihilation. So to me, that's what I'd be playing for, is trying to force out this Doomfist ultimate and just build some of your own and play for final fight. If you can't get an early pick.
Yeah, absolutely here. But so far, the only early pick we've seen every fight has been Mickman here, which does not bode good things for Factor X. Pulse Bomb ready here for them, so they could be fine looking for that stick here pretty early on as an opening act. Nice punch there by Gusagabo. Going to be able to keep at least Kaori at bay here. Then they're going to be chasing after them, finding the pick. Factor X, though, almost takes a point through all this here. They get off it, now back on it, trying just to be able to get a free point flip here. Blade out from LaTAM. Not going to be able to do much, but just buy some space. LCS Cameron down, and Factor X, I don't think they're going to be able to come back this time around. Garfo Gonna be setting us to a point 3. And again, remember, this now puts them on the championship point. One last touch there, though, from Factor X, just to try to find something, but it won't lead to much. Garfo, officially on championship point.
Here we go, the penultimate final submap on Nepal. Do we get ourselves a grand finals map number 7, or does Garfo shut the momentum straight in the face of Factor X and say, this is our time to win the CGL championship? Sanctuary is the final submap that we see these teams do battle on. I don't see either of these teams swapping up too heavy. We do see Tizzy currently highlighting going back over to that Diva, and we did see it work to great success on King's Row. Let's see if they can do it once again, as Dystopia going over to the Freya, which could bode well for the Diva being able to contest them in the sky.
Yeah, I think first time we're seeing Freya. Remember, they're banned out map 2. Mickman going back over to the Venture here as well. Tizzy, I think this is their best tank. I think Diva is honestly their best tank, and I like it as for the defense matrix because Diabo has been able to find maybe a little bit too much value with their left click.
Let's see, as we see Tracers, we see Freya's all on off angles trying to make different things and positions happening. Can Dystopia find a pick early like they've just been so well known to do? Point cap going to go for Factor X.
And right now, if you're Garfo, you're okay with letting that go. Leg Tack gets a little bit low, going to be able to recall to keep themselves alive here. I think both teams kind of just trying to build up these ultimate support, this support ultimates up really, really fast here. Suzu already invested there by Cameron. So if you're Garfo, you could try to play a little bit aggressive here, but Tizzy going to be able to get Dystopia out of the sky as Leg Tack trying to find someone. Mickman finally going to get some payback on Diabo for that last sub map. But, I mean, if you're Factor X, you still need to be able to clean up this fight. And with that pick on the Gusagabo, or Gobo, I think that's just going to do that. Just that. There's the cleanup. Factor X can take a little bit of a sigh of relief here.
Yeah, Factor X definitely looks most comfortable when they have Tizzy on this Diva. They can just peel so well for the team if anyone's trying to do that, whether it was Dystopia on the Freya or Lickitat on the Tracer. We do see Dystopia now abandoning the Freya, going over to the Cast, which again, that flashbang can just be so threatening. In this case, it's to try and deal with Mickman on that Venture.
Gusagabo goes straight to point there, trying to just drag Factor X back to it because that's what they're really looking for. Tizzy has Bomb. Pulse Bomb going to be able to find them, but actually the Suzu keeps them alive, and Kaori. This is the type of performance you need from them. You need them to be finding these opening picks here, and you need them to really be getting this Soj going. The Gusagabo going to be using the Meteor Strike just to get them out of dodge, but they go straight into the fray there. Ultimate's still online here from Factor X. They haven't invested one just yet. There's the first one. Say goodbye to the Doomfist, and it looks like they're looking for a little bit more here. 75% in counting rate. If they get some staggering picks here, I don't think Garfo even gets back to point.
That they do not. 82% in counting. Everyone's been cleaned up. I don't know. I mean, they do have a lot of characters with a lot of mobility, a lot of speed, and it's not like it's Flashpoint, so they have a chance here. LCS goes down. This could be dangerous as the touch will come in for Garfo.
Diabo has the only ultimate online. There's the touch from Gusagabo. Going to be able to at least force overtime here, but you lose them as Kaori pops off with another overclock. Looking for a little bit more. Mickman going to be able to find Diabo, but the Tidal Blast coming in there onto Ligtat. Dystopia, I think, finally finding maybe what might be one of the first picks for Garfo this sub point, but is there going to be another touch? No! We're headed to 7 here in South America, everybody!
What more could we have asked from the grand finals of the South America region? Woo! 7 maps. We have not had that yet for a grand final. And we are seeing it live right here and now. All the momentum has definitely shifted back into the favor of Factor X. Can Garfo find a way to not get for the collapse not to happen?
I've been saying it here for a little bit. South America, the South American region, if you haven't been watching it, this is your sign to start watching it. This is a very, very fun, competitive region. Garfo so close to being the ultimate underdogs with a huge upset. Factor X, they have their storybook kind of play happening right now. Do they get their storybook ending? If you're Garfo here, Ray, I don't know where you go. Do you bring us back to Flashpoint? Do you go back to potentially something like a push map? It's up in the air right now, but this is the hardest decision for them, I think.
I think you have to take yourself to where you feel like the Doomfist is going to get the maximum amount of value. So you can basically take it anywhere. I'm trying to think of a map I think of. I'm just like, man, Doomfist can go really crazy here. But I mean, nothing really comes to mind specifically. If you have a good Doomfist player, I mean, Gibraltar definitely, not that good of a Doomfist map, for example, but it's not like there's a map that screams like this is one of the best Doomfist maps. I mean, maybe you go Flashpoint, maybe you go like an Atlas, possibly. I don't know.
New Junk City, I think, is a part of the pool. That could be something we see. I don't know. I feel like using Control as your first map pick might come back to haunt you here, because I think you would have loved to have it as your last one. Flashpoint, though, that was where we started to see Garfo really kind of come back into the series. Their reverse sweep back on Saravasa to win them the first map in this series. Did they bring us back to it for the final one? We'll figure it out here in a moment, but there has been a big difference for this Factor X team since Tizzy went back over to the tank. Cameras came in again. Lava, I thought they played good in the role, but you're seeing the difference here with Tizzy. They're able to be a little bit more flexible, have that Diva start to be an option. And like I said, Diva is Tizzy's best tank. And you saw it there, that final point where really Garfo didn't touch point. I think there are some members of Garfo that never even got to point at all.
No, it was a very well played map from Factor X to be able to bring this to a map number 7. And now will the historic season continue for Factor X, not having dropped a single series all season long. And then this will be more maps they dropped in a single series than they had all season long, but they get the victory at the end of the day. Does not matter. It will be one of the most dominant seasons we have seen in CGL.
We have the site for our final fight of this series. Garfo has decided to bring us to Dorado to end it all here. A very, very interesting one. I thought Flashpoint might have been the way to go, but an escort map is gonna be the case here. And Ray, it's one that leaves me kind of maybe considering this might not be the best option here for Garfo, because Diva, I think this is a really, really good Diva map.
Yeah, I was going to say that's then my thought in my head is, are you playing an escort map so you can play Sigma, who those accretion rocks can just disrupt Diva so much? But I mean,
wait, Factor X spending first?
If that was the case, I think Havana's in the map pool, and that probably would have been a better Sig map overall. So, not exactly sure, but let's see where Garfo wants to go with this ban. Given that we're not super ecstatic about the map pick, that it's not going to be super favorable towards them, I think this ban, it makes that much more important.
I think there's an obvious choice here, and I think that was it. I think Lucio was the obvious choice. I think that Factor X has been or Garfo has been able to deal with it around, but like I said, LCS I think is one of the best Lucio players in South America. You're forcing them to play something else here on this final map. They've been able to play Lucio throughout this entire series. They were holding on to this one for just this map. Factor X, though, their ban, what is it going to be?
That is the question of the day. Do you look to go tank, maybe possibly banning a Sigma? You can't really ban the Doomfist. Do you look to ban possibly, any of the other DPS they've seen? Oh, Ash, that makes a lot of sense. Get rid of Dystopia's ability to be able to just rain damage from those high grounds. I think that makes a lot of sense for Factor X.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense. Dystopia has been able to do so much. You go back to King's Row, Bob was such a difference maker for them there. They're able to hit shot after shot, Dynamite as well. And we talked about it before with the changes to Ash, or the fall off changes. I think her major perk, where if you hit 2 consecutive shots while scoped, that it does 25 dot damage after it, is insane if you've played Ash, because it's basically just a mini Dynamite with hitting 2 shots in a row. I think these are 2 very, very smart bans here for what is going to be our final map of the season for South America.
I can feel the tension in the air. Both teams have had quite the season. Who's going to be able to finish it off with the cherry on top with a CGL South American Championship.
Time will tell, 10 or 15 minutes from now, maybe shorter, but we will figure it out here. It looks like it's gonna be Garfo attacking here first, and I like that move there from Factor X. Know what you have to do on the attacking side in round 2. No big surprises, I think, coming out here for either side. Dystopia, no Ash, gonna be going over to the Soj instead. I think these all make sense for both these teams.
I do like, so LCS, given that they don't have the Lucio, is going to go over to the Brig, and we did see them play Brig Juno early on Lijiang Tower when they were playing the Ram comp. So we know they have the capabilities of being able to play the Brig in certain situations. So I think it could be good.
All right, this is what a lot of people always dream about, being a part of a Map 7 series, and hey, they have it now. Tizzy gets antied out pretty early on, forced off the high ground. Great play here early by Garfo, as Gusagobo going to be able just to get up to the high ground as well. It's going to force Tizzy to eventually fall back and peel back to save their supports and Kaori on that high ground at some point.
As Tizzy's going to find the pick on a Dystopia. That's one great opening pick as they're just continuing to play their high ground, playing their positioning extremely well. Kaori continuing to shine as a superstar on this Sojourn as they're trying to find more picks, as this fight is just long and messy.
And you have to remember one thing with LCS going over to this break, if they bash into a punching Doomfist, it stuns both of them. And it puts Gusagobo at such a disadvantage, especially because they're trying to disrupt that high ground where you have Kaori and Mickman a lot of those times here. So it has to be something where you're making these coordinated dives for Garfo. 1 minute gone, only 28 meters on the board.
As again, Factor X is just playing their positioning extremely well. Just Tizzy just being able to go back and forth, protect people. Peel has that defense matrix while putting pressure onto someone like Capiom.
Oof. Tizzy put to sleep here for a brief moment. Not really going to be much here as Mickman gets rid of Dystopia, and now Ligtat falls by the flail of LCS. Tizzy going to be not able to get out here. This is huge. This gives Garfo an opening. Mickman will find Diabo, though. Tizzy's still alive, but they're sleeping, woken up, but they're begging to get that mech back.
Yeah, the big question to me was going to be, can they build this mech back up fast enough? They are getting decent amount of percentage on that. Garfo has to go quick.
Tizzy, 98. There's the mech. Going to be able to get back into it here. LCS gets rid of Ligtat, who was trying to just dive onto Tizzy there. And for Garfo, this is all starting to fall apart. Gusagabo going to be able to find Cameron out there. Consumer Rush out for them, though, on the high ground, but it's not really going to find much value. Gusagabo going to be able to find one more meteor strike coming out for them. Mickman doesn't have the burrow to get themselves in, but LCS going to save them with the rally, which I would have held on to that for Blade.
I agree with you 1000%. Both their support ultimates are now gone, so Ligtet should be able to get a lot of value out of this Blade. Let's see what they get done with this possible Tectonic Shard, but with Kaori going down, do you just give it up?
Blade coming out here, trying to focus in on Mickman. Mickman gonna get deflected. Bomb from Tizzy. Finds one with the pistol. Not gonna be able to find much more there. And this should be Garfo getting these forward, or at least the first point here. The only member left alive is Cameron, who is gonna be staggered out at this point. Dystopia, they're going to be able to find them. Garfo, after a struggle at the start, gets that first point.
Okay, that wasn't a bad stall if you're the side of Factor X. You took 75% of their time bank, so you definitely have to keep that in mind with Garfo, trying to make sure you give yourself at least a decent time bank. And now Garfo is going to be able to have a rally of their own, as well as Dystopia, who can have this overclock. Let's see who wins this battle of the dueling overclocks between Dystopia and Kaori.
Ooh. Diabo gonna use the rally right there to stop Mickman, who is popping that Tectonic Shock in the back line there. Nice stall there again to slow down Tizzy. Kaori, though, still holding on to the overclock at the moment as Tizzy trying to just buy some space. Kaori will be able to find Gusagobo, and if you're Factor X right now, this has to be your moment where you go in and clean up the rest of Garfo while their tank is not in the picture. Dystopia gonna pop the overclock right now, but looks like Factor X just gonna wait for it to dissipate.
And overall, that's just going to be the smart decision to make. Get that extra 50 rail charge to dissipate from the overclock and see if you can re-engage with your own overclock.
Garfo gonna have a couple ultimates here now, has the Meteor Strike, which Gusagobo has been able to use it a lot just to get them out of situations where they were most likely gonna die. Bione not gonna be able to find much there. Tizzy gets punched for a brief moment, but Factor X, a slew of ultimates in their name. Tizzy gets punched yet again. Gusagobo again. Meteor Strike online. No one's pushing the cart at the moment. Nice punch there, but there's the Meteor Strike to keep them alive. Rally coming out from LCS. They get stunned immediately as they come back down to Earth. But if you're Factor X, you need to be fighting Pix here. Nano invests on the Gusagobo. Gonna be able to find Kaori. Did not invest the overclock there. Bomb coming out there from Tizzy. Not going to be able to do much, but because they are slept again by Capium, not going to be able to get back in the mech either. A costly fight there for Factor X, who finds nothing.
Agreed. And now if you're Garfo, you can look to engage this next fight. You're going to have a Blade. You're going to have a rally. The only thing you have to hope and pray for is Kaori, who's been strong on the Sojourn, comes through with a big overclock. But knowing that if I'm Ligtat, I am going after them with his Blade.
Capium at half health, gonna be able to get healed back up by Diabo. Ligtat, 1 health and a dream, gonna be able to get out with their life. Nice disrupted shot there from Dystopia. They shut down Kaori, so no overclock right now for Factor X here. And look at the positioning for Garfo. They're all over the place. Factor X has to choose someone to dive onto. They're just gonna play point instead. Diabo with the rally, gonna be able to try to find the DMAC here on the Tizzy. Gusagobo gonna be able to find LCS, and there's the DMAC. Point 2, all but assured a cap here for Garfo, as they're gonna have 2.5 minutes to complete the map. But is this where Factor X locks in on the 3rd-point defense again, much like Kings Row?
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Is Kings Row, we did see them lock in on 3rd point after first 2 points looked kind of bleak. So we'll see what they get done here. McMahon did go over to the Tracer. So we're going to see. Again, only ultimate online currently is going to be this overclock, is Garfo has been just building up and saving on their ultimates.
Garfo, I mean, they could heavily invest into one fight here and get the cart almost to the final point here. But Tizzy trying to get rid of Lake Tat. Blade actually coming out from Lake Tat on the high ground. Actually, no, it's on to Tizzy of everyone else. Dystopia overclock out from them. Same thing coming out here from Kaori, who's antied up. Kaori not going to be able to find much. Kaori being very quiet this map. It looks like Garfo has found their target number 1 and 2. Tizzy taken out of the mech. Pulse bomb from Mickman, though, finds 2. But it's not necessarily going to be enough this fight. But could it be something that lets Factor X come back in?
Wow. Basically, it's going to allow a really good recontest for the side of Factor X. Just under 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Kitsune Rush still at the disposal for Cameron. But, with that pick on the Giasagobo, you got to back up.
This isn't the worst thing, though, here for Garfo. You look at them. They're about to have both their support ultimates. Factor X is going to have the same here. So you're going to have the same 3 ultimates for each side going into the final minute. If you're Factor X, if you can find one more pick, it's huge, but you lose Kaori, you're going to be able to trade out. Mickman finds Diabo, so the rally out from Garfo is all but wasted. A huge bash there by LCS, stunning 3. You're looking for a little bit more now, because this could be a huge stagger. The whip, not going to be able to find much, but you get rid of the Meteor Strike. Oh, this is all playing in the Factor X's hands now.
Now, the only ult they have to deal with for this final fight is going to be the Nano, and they have Kitsune Rush and a remake. Factor X has locked in on this 3rd point once again. Dystopia looking for some kind of rail shot has come through for the team. Can they come through again?
Nano, the only thing ready right now for Garfo. Like you said, Dystopia could find one. Ligtat pops, gets the Nano here, trying to focus in on Kaori. Gotta be able to find them, looking for a little bit more now. Huge anti, gonna be able to find Cameron, who does use a Kitsune Rush, but Ligtat with 2. Gusagobo with the 3rd one right there on to Cameron, LCS. Tizzy, though, they use the bomb, they use the remaking tool. They have to be the touch here. This is gonna go to overtime no matter what, but does Factor X have enough to come back out here?
I do not like the idea of throwing all those ultimates, but they do. They get the touch just in time. Oh, no! Now the C9 comes in. Oh, no!
Factor X now has to complete the map.
I'm like, conditions not set for either team at this point. I mean, I guess for Garfo, just don't let them cap all 3 points, and you're coming out with a huge upset. But Factor X, even if you cap all 3, you have to go to extras.
And that's what you're hoping
That
for.
was a disastrous final fight, though. Like, I don't know where Kitsune Rush was used there, but that was not in a good spot. They just needed to, like, why just die at that point? Save it.
It was used in a little side room by where attackers can come in from.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Main door.
Wasn't great, to be honest.
It wasn't, but there was a huge anti there from Capium, which found so much. It got rid of Cameron. That was the biggest difference there. But now, like you said, Factor X, they have their condition. Garfo, they have 3 conditions. And that's just a stop at every point. Stop on point 1, stop on point 2, stop on point 3. Factor X, it's just one. Finish the map. Who cares about time? You just need to finish the map. And Tizzy's showing us something a little bit different here.
Tizzy currently highlighting the hazard, which is the first time we've seen this hero come out for them all series long. They do have that capability because Hazard at least plays a similar style to the Diva. So let's see if they can make it happen.
And right now, Factor X, they have to forget what happened last round there. They have to focus on this one. Anti-Nate coming out, going to be able to find Kaori and LCS. Nice kind of throw there from Capium. Again, this Ana has been such a difference maker this entire series for them. And banning out the Lucio basically was also a protection ban for this Ana. Tizzy, though, going to be able to find Ligtat. And that's what you want to get rid of early. Kaori, though, trying to play their life, not going to be able to play it well enough. Capium going to be able to find them out. However, Factor X still forcing Garfo back here.
Yeah, I mean, the bring Ana, you got to make sure you play your space perfectly. And they get Dystopia with a great nade coming in from Cameron, who's decided to abandon the Kiri and play the bring Ana in this situation. And it's working out wonders for them, as that's basically going to be the point cap at this point for the side of Factor X, who is moving much more faster than we saw from Garfo.
You think Factor X is angry?
A little bit, just a tad. They definitely got that vengefulness inside of them right now, and they are letting that work to their advantage beautifully so far.
Ooh,
Kaori on the Echo.
Goose Gobble actually got put to sleep there for a moment, gonna be able to escape with their life, and yeah, Kaori swapping over to the Echo here. I like it, but you really need to find the value with it early on. Looks like Mickman's actually gonna be the person pushing the card here, while the supports are really trying to keep Tizzy alive on this high ground.
We see just jostling continuing for this high ground. Who's going to be able to ultimately take advantage? You got this Downpour. Here goes the Nano. Let's see what they do with the Downpour as well.
Downpour, I think they were really hoping that would have caught Tizzy and focused more on the backline there instead, but you're still getting space here. If you're Factor X, Goose-Gobo going to be able to stay alive. Capium has Nano ready to go here. Factor X, they've not been afraid to invest their ultimates here pretty early on so far this round. Now the Nano's starting to come out here from Garfo. Going to be on to Ligtat again. Goose-Gobo very low on health as Ligtat chases after Kaori here, but they're struggling to find the kunai shots, and now LCS coming in. Going to be able to clean up some help from Kaori. One ultimate gone. Dialbo does have the rally, but hey, Kaori going to be able to take them out as well. Everything still playing very, very well here for Factor X so far.
They get these staggers decks. They might not be able to get a recontest so easily. And it looks like they are going to touch just in time, but will they get the members back?
Oh!
And Dystopia hits a big shot onto Kaori.
What a sick flick right there. Dystopia! Oh my goodness, all the momentum that Factor X had, I would consider it gone here, as Cameron will fall. And, I mean, Factor X not even going to try to attempt. Oh my goodness, Dystopia, stop.
Yeah, just with one right click, able to finalize and make it happen. Garfo still got that blade, still has that rally. They can bleed a lot of time off this clock here. I want to see what Kaori is going to do with this duplicate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. I was wondering who the target's going to be. Is it going to be the Doomfist? I feel like it might be going more over towards Dystopia, because we've seen what they've been able to do on that Soj throughout the night already. Mickman trying to at least force a fight back on card, but has to play their life here for a moment. Going to be able to get back up there. And now you see the dive. There is the rally as well. Going to be able to get the bash on the Tizzy. Tizzy gonna be able to barely escape. Nice bash coming in there from LCS. Kaori actually gonna duplicate into the Doomfist of their own, but Ligtat gonna be able to find Cameron with their blade. That's gonna be all it finds here. At least 1 meter strike coming out there from Kaori as they try to get rid of Capium there. Gonna be knocked out of that duplicate. And I mean, Factor X, I was wondering where the rest of the team was. Tizzy gonna be able to find one there, now focusing again on the card as it has rolled back a decent amount here. I mean, a jagged wall here could be huge. Stop, maybe a point push. Kaori going to be able to find Diabo out, the punch back in. You're going to see one last touch come out from Ligtat, already using the deflect right there. Ligtat going to be able to find Kaori. A lot of people low, though, on Garfo. This should be a cleanup here of Factor X, especially with the investment of the downpour. That should do it. 3 minutes, 44 seconds for Factor X to complete the map. But this is a difficult one if you end up losing a fight.
Yeah, the big question here is how fast can they complete the second point? Because at this point, not only are you playing to get to extras, but you want as much of a time advantage as you can get. So let's see. They got Nano. They have Pulse Bomb. Let's see how much aggression they can get and picks. Last time, you know, they were able to get a lot of space, but not a lot of kills with the Nano.
Diabo getting off the brig, going back over to this Wu Yang, which has been an absolute menace in the past. Huge anti on the Gusagobo, but it's going to force him to use the Meteor Strike. I think if you're Factor X, you're very much happy with this. It gets rid of an ultimate that's caused you a lot of problems in the past, and Tizzy immediately jumping up there. Kaori has the Nano thrown onto them, almost being able to take care of the Doomfist. Tizzy, though, going to be able to clean them up here, and that's a great early pick. Nano, again, invested on the Lig Tat without the Blade. They're going to be able to chase after LCS here, but now going after the backline, they're not going to be able to find much. So close to a Blade. Gonna be able to get that large health pack. Blade online though, and then oh my goodness, they deflect the sleep back in to Cameron, get the kill as well, almost finding 3, but Mickman shuts them down. However, the damage done in this fight, Factor X has to reset.
Yeah, overall, that was Blade and Nano use and Meteor Strike. So you're only going to have a High Noon and a Tidal Wave Blast. As Factor X, going to have that rally, going to have that High Noon, likely getting a Downpour soon. They have the tools, and really all they got to do is get one clean team fight win, and they should be able to deliver this cart.
Diabo, Tidal Wave, or Tidal Blast online. Kaori has a Deadeye here, but where do they really find the time and space to use it? That's going to be the challenge, I think, for them with this ultimate. Dystopia has the same thing as Factor X tries to get back to this cart, tries to get it rolling again, but Garfo going to be playing that bridge there. Lig Tat almost got caught down there, but Tizzy in a bad spot gets punched out, and now the time not really on the side of Factor X anymore as the rally gets invested here by LCS. They need to be able to find a little bit more, almost gets Lig Tat, but Lig Tat going to be able to get some health there from both Capium and Diabo. You need to fall back here if you're Factor X. You cannot afford to lose anymore.
That you cannot. You're going to have to get a lot of value out of the High Noon, out of the Nano, out of the Downpour, but still that Tidal Wave Blast still online. They've been holding on to it. Here we go, Nano's up.
Gonna be able to find Dystopia now, focusing in on Diabo. Will they use the blast on themselves? No, they're gonna hold on to it for the next fight, but will there be a next fight? Gusagobo in the backline, finding 2, but Tizzy put to sleep. Capium's been able to do so well with that this entire round, but still Tizzy chasing after them. Gusagobo gonna be able to shut them down. Time is starting to run out here.
Cameron gonna go over to the Kiriko, as I guess they're feeling like these nades from Capium are just so potent. They need this Suzu to be able to hang in on these fights. They gotta... It's getting rough out here, but I mean, it will be overtime versus overtime, so at this point, you're just playing for an even extras at this point if you are Factor X.
I'm not that far away from their own Nano again. There's Diabo with the Tidal Blast. I think it's back out onto Lig Tat. Not going to be able to find any stuns with it here, but you look at Factor X, a little bit worse for wear here. Kaori, Mickman now, your DPS line for Factor X is gone. This is final fight now. Cameron going to be able to shut down Capium before they get the Nano online. Dystopia trying to get rid of Tizzy here, but they have both their supports with them. Silver Bullet can come out to them. LCS going to miss the bash on them, but can still find them. This is it. Factor X, they lose Tizzy. They lose LCS. Cameron out as well. Is there a touch? No. Put a fork in the season for Factor X. Garfo, your champions of the South American region.
Huge upset coming in from Garfo. Factor X had not lost a single series all season long, and Garfo in the 9th hour, just when their backs were against the wall, all the pressure was mounting, they come through with the goods on Dorado.
Man, this was an incredible series. Both these two teams showed us so much. Factor X, I mean, you were so close. We came into this series talking about if they win it here tonight, we could really make the argument that this is one of the most dominant series in all of CGL history, because remember, this is an open tier. This is the best of the region. And they come up one map short. All 7 maps were played. Garfo, again, remember, this was one of the only teams that took a map off of Factor X in the regular season, in the midseason. What Factor X was still able to win the midseason championship 3-1. Their sister team, Faka, was the other one to take a map off of them. So they had the data. They played them in the winners final, where I believe it was Factor X that won that one 3-0. Garfo gets their revenge, and man, is it very, very sweet.
What a series from both of these teams. Congratulations to both of them. We know just how talented all these players in the South America region are. Garfo pulling up the upset, beating Factor X 4-3 in a banger of a grand finals. But we are not done yet, folks. Don't go anywhere. We are going to go to a quick break as we're going to be bringing in some interviews from both of these teams. So we will be right back.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the booth. We are pleased to be joined by LATAM from your South American champions, Garfo. LATAM, I mean, an incredible series. Went the distance. You handed Factor X their first loss of the season, and you got some revenge on them for all the other times they were able to beat you. How does it feel?
It actually feels really nice, not gonna lie. We were kind of expecting to lose, not gonna lie. We're to be lucky they were late, and it turned out great. Honestly, we're really, really happy. Everybody was cheering up, And fun fact, every single match that we won, not like round, I guess. I don't think am I allowed to say that I drank alcohol? Oh my god. Because it was a decider, not gonna lie. That was like a big deal. So I'm a little bit drunk right now.
Hey, you're champions. I don't blame you, man.
Hey, yeah, the celebrations are going to be even stronger once we get done with this interview. Going into this, you go up to this 3-1 lead and it's starting to crumble away. You guys lock in on this Dorado map. What do you think was the difference in you guys being able to get your momentum back and finish strong and saying no to them coming back on you guys?
We were really confident because we needed like one map to win. And like I knew it was gonna be tougher because they got like the better roster after, and it was like we were joking in our team communications, because when you fight in a game, you have the boss fight, and you think you kill them, and after you kill them, you realize the song is still playing, and they get like to another form and stuff. And like they get even stronger, and you're like, oh my god, we're cooked. So we were expecting to get a little bit like way tougher than it should have been. Than it was. I mean, my bad. But it turned out great because we won at the end. But it was really tough. They're really good. And we just had to get the bands together. We were hoping we could have banned like D.Va because it's a really strong tank at the moment, and we don't play D.Va. We're a one-trick Doom team, and yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, walk us through those final moments as that final fight's commencing. You guys, it's crazy mess. You guys, comms are back and forth. You guys are trying to make sure you bring it in. Just what was going on through you guys' minds when you're like, we can do this. We might have this. We're in position to win this.
I think, as I can say, Diablo was like the stronger player that was like hard coming and stuff. I really wanted to win, but the team in general was really talkative at that moment, and we were shouting a little bit more. We usually shout really loud. Like there was like a win we had against Pumas in Face It. We were screaming at the end, but this one we were like just saying a little quicker than we used to say. And even Dystopia is a player that like barely talks. He's like just a out of farming guy. And he was talking, so like we were definitely into the win there.
I mean, I would have loved to be been a fly on that wall in that call there as it was all coming down to the close in that series. But I mean, great performances all around. Diablo, like you mentioned, I felt like they were very flexible throughout the night. You were very flexible starting off on tank, going over to DPS line. I mean, you said you were a little bit of a Doom one-trick team, but you had a lot of flexibility throughout the night, whether playing hit scan, flex, DPS, and that support line was all over the place as well. Is that something that you really look at as your team as being an identity for yourself? Even though you have a really strong Doom player, is that everyone else around them can really kind of flex into any role needed?
Yeah, we kind of need that, to be honest, because since we are a really unflexible team in terms of tank. I mean, we do have another tank. Just to be clear, we play Face It League with another tank at the moment. We're gonna play. He's not like he didn't play a match so far, but because we really need it. But since the CGL match was like a really long ongoing tournament, we couldn't add him. We had like this previous tank that was Race, but he didn't end up playing. Like he's not into Overwatch anymore and stuff. So we didn't have a chance. I tried to play tank there. I was expecting to play ball, but my team was really heavy against it. And I mean, they were kind of right. I sucked balls there. We were playing like an off-road tournament. I was playing support before that. And if I was playing tank earlier, maybe we could have done better. But I mean, like at the end of the day, we are not a flexible team because of the Doomfist, but we flex around him so he's playable, you know.
And it looked really, really good tonight. But I wanted to sell your ball too short there. Yeah, there was the one time you rolled off the map, but both me and Ray thought you did a serviceable job on the wrecking ball on that second point. But hey, LigTat, again, congratulations on the victory here tonight. Before we let you go, we want to give you this opportunity to shout out anyone or anything you want, man.
I want to shout out to everybody that helped us in the Talheres community, we say here, because we have it's not an org, but we have, in Portuguese, Garfo means fork, and we have other teams called faca, which is knife, and we have another one which is colher, which means spoon. And I want to thank all of the members in there. They're really great. I love you all, and I expect to keep talking with y'all for a long time.
All right, man. Hey, again, congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on being champions here. Again, everyone, that was LigTat from Garfo, man. We'll let you go back and celebrate the victory with your team. Again, congratulations on a great season.
Thank you all. I love you all.
All right, Ray. An incredible grand finals here. It was back and forth. Factor X, like we talked about, coming into the series, maybe one of the most dominant teams we've ever seen. They find their first loss in the grand finals to a team they had beaten 3 times throughout the season up until this point. But Garfo, I mean, you even heard it there. They sound like they were having a lot of fun throughout the night. Maybe I've never heard a player say, yeah, we were drinking actively during the match, but it worked.
Oh man, that's what I love about this community and love about CGL. But that's going to wrap things up for us tonight. All the other games have also concluded. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. As we'll be having at least 2, maybe 3 games happening tomorrow. So make sure you tune into CGL. Thanks to Head Rammer and Friday for producing this. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for you guys. Thank you guys all for watching. I saw we had quite a big viewing crowd today. It just makes us feel blessed and happy to be able to do this as casters. And once again, we'll see you at another broadcast.